games in this group stage, he's only averaged a 1.07 rating. If there's any time to get the proper niko show, it's got to be here to try and get them another win on the board.
And he's going to be one of those players to watch for when it comes to the G2 side. For NIP, who are you looking forward to seeing the most here? Because again, they have got some substitutions. Obviously, the academy player Enthusi, like, is he going to be a guy that we want to rest on here for this side, or are we going to look towards more of the known veterans on the NIP side?
I think you got to look at more so the veteran guys. Rez has been having an unbelievable event, one of the best events that we've seen from him in quite a while. He's one of the highest rated players out of every single team that we've got in the competition so far. Positive 66 KD differential, 1.34 rating. Definitely a rifler that's been incredibly consistent. And even Hampus too, bringing that in-game leadership and ability on the server to put up numbers. I think those two guys in particular is who we've got to be keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, and of course the other guy, the G2, that we'd be a bit remiss to mention so far in this pre-game is obviously monacy, who's had a really great breakout performance so far this year. Katowice was incredible. This group stage, maybe it could be a bit of a black mark in his early part of his career, but in terms of what he could do, in terms of the level that he could reach, that could also be a big difference maker for G2.
Yeah, more academy players, right? We think of the way that he was playing there on the Navi junior side. You could even flip the switch and talk about someone like Fozy, who had that stint playing with the young ninjas too. We've seen so much out of monacy. 16 years old, really proficient with that AWP, and just the X factor that G2 were looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he was the kind of guy that really came up and became the star of the Academy Leagues. He was the star of the Navi Junior roster. He was the guy that everyone looked at and thought, look, right, this guy is going to be something. He's going to be a really special player. Like, no matter who I talked to, no matter who I said, I'm always very skeptical about newer players coming in and rocking the tier 1 space. But he's the guy that everyone said, like, no, this is one to watch out for, and he's proven himself already in the tier 1 space. I have my reservations about the long-term impact, though. Like, is this just going to be a case where G2 are just resting in the honeymoon period, and that might come to an end some point between now and the next few months?
I think they're in a very good position outside of this event, right? Again, you do have to go back with the way that we saw them play at Katowice. Very close in that grand final, not quite being able to take a map or to take the series up against FaZe, but seeing OTs into the mix, some 16-14s. It was an incredibly close grand final, and I think time is only going to benefit this lineup, bringing someone like monacy forward, just with the impact that he finds on the big green.
Yeah, again, I'm hoping that they deliver a result here that shows that they definitely have a lot more potential behind what this group stage initially indicates. And it's good to see the players aren't also like too stressed about this matchup. Like obviously Hunter was saying earlier that it's going to be a bit of a casual one for the G2 side. You see smiles on everyone's faces. They know this match hasn't got the biggest implications in the world, so they can just take it easy. They can play it casually. They can play it seriously, of course, but they can focus up and just sort of deliver the best sort of performance that they can possibly do so given the circumstances. So final thoughts from you, Dweg. We're about to jump into the pistol round. Any sort of particular things you want to watch out for in this best of 3?
Very keen to just see NIP give it to G2 in the sense of just ride that momentum, ride the confidence of every single victory so far being a W for them.
All right, the high waves for the NIP side. G2 looking for a consolation prize to climb maybe one more space in this group stage and maintain a decent number of Pro Tour points. It's all about undefeated status for the Swedish core, though. Let's jump into it. It's our first map. It's Vertigo. It's G2 versus NIP.
Oh, this is where things get very intriguing. Out here on Vertigo, we've seen some very good T sides and CT sides by this NIP side. They've really brought the fight in their first game, their debut performance against fnatic on Vertigo, and we saw it again against Mouse. They're looking to try and replicate there.
Yeah, and they're mostly looking towards this this first map. Of course, their own pick as being the main sort of idealism for them. Of course, them going into this series at a bit of a high note, just gain this own map pick. We talked a little bit about how some map picks haven't necessarily been won all that often so far during the course of the week. But this will be a strong little start for the NIP side, in my opinion. I look towards this as being, again, a standard veto, standard style of picks, and standard style of matchup from both sides. So, quick predictions in terms of scorelines. Dweg, where are we looking at this?
I'm thinking 2-1 NIP.
2-1 NIP? I can't disagree with you right there. Let's jump into it. Pistol round now with G2 kicking things off, at least on the CT half, looking to lock down the defensive and hold a confident start here as we're finally ready to begin the ultimate exhibition match here in the ESL Pro League.
Now, this is how it's going to start off. T-side pistol underway with the footsteps going up towards that ramp control. A lot of pace trying to get initiated, but the CTs are already looking for some map presence to be taken away from mid and start off onto res.
Initial contact, getting the opening kill for the G2 side, and further presence pressing forward, trying to establish the map control and the mid control, and monacy also pushing downstairs via the B site. Now in a connector, could find the bomb carrier here. It all comes up to timing. He's just having a read onto Fuzi. He doesn't extend all the way to try and grab the kill and actually loses his life for it. It's a 4v4, but he gains info.
A very important kill to be answered back, and now you can just see the CT stacking up the A side. Even with that in mind, though, look at some of the entries that are coming through for the NIP squad. Up by one, now getting the smoke down to try and get onto the side.
Oh, a secondary kill, a third one, in fact, for the likes of Jax. Can't quite make it a Quadra. Hunter's there to try and back him up and regain a man advantage for G2 now. Bomb dropped in the open, and the P250 of Hampus rocking Raid Boss in this round. Not going to rock the clutch play. Gets at least Alexi B, but no more than this one, it seems.
Just trying to draw the fights, trying to initiate those 1v1s. Jax has still got a smoke to play with. They're actually giving them the respect of being able to pick up that bomb and to try and get it down.
Can also try for a rotation back towards that B play. The concern is going to be the information given up towards the G2 side. Got a little bit of time to work with, though. He could slow walk his way up towards the stairs at least, but you can see Hunter starting to get the inkling now. He knows that this is a possibility, and he's going to account for it.
Hey, you'd have to imagine for Hampus, if there's any way to win this round, taking the fight and being able to beat out Hunter has to be the start.
And his moves in, knife pulled out, P250 in against them, going to cross out towards default, just try and get that bomb plant in, could be denied, and indeed it is. It's a pistol win for the likes of G2 as they lose many of their players, but ultimately take the round.
It just shows the information gathering, the aggressive play from Hunter and from Jax in towards a mid portion, Modesty going aggressive down from the B stairs, and really just trying to put pressure on from the early start here on the pistol round. Try and get into the minds of NIP, try and have a lot of aggressive approaches, and while the trading was back and forth, they gave the respect in that 2v1 by not over-peaking and allowing themselves to pick up the pistol.
Beautiful shooting from Jax in general to make his 3K happen, perfect heads at the perfect time. Perfect start for the likes of G2. NIP not opting to force the issue, of course, no bomb plant bonus, although they got close towards it. Upgrade pistols are in play, but lack of Kevlar means the aim punch and the general damage is going to come in effectively for G2. Already a kill's been found, and Fuzi's on single digits.
Now, only 2 maps played in the last 3 months on Vertigo for G2, but it is a 100% win rate, so something to keep in mind, 2 wins and 0 losses. Can they make it 3-0? Monacy with this scout. And just searching for some information. These Glocks, can't imagine are going to get too much out of it.
Cool, as a tag for a bit of damage, 59 points of HP for him. Continuing the face for a little bit more. niko's credited with the next kill. Does get overwhelmed by the numbers game, so not as easy for G2, but they've maintained the 4 versus 3 scenario. There's a FAMAS to work with now for NIP, but the USP actually lines up too for Monacy, making it a triple. And on for the Quadra against Hampus. That's done around at least one more good frag against the name of the G2 side. Have that bomb again, trying to commit to the side, but the scout headshot's not coming in. He's being flanked anyway. There's a 2-0 now for the G2 side. NIP look to the guns.
And not a lot of farm money coming into that round for G2. For NIP's standpoint, knowing there weren't many upgrades, the fact that they've been able to get a couple of kills shows that there was at least some damage coming through into the eco. But now the precedent is what's going to happen into the rifle round. Going into round 3, and the AK's coming through, lot of util to follow. And Alexi keeping hold on that MP7, trying to use this as a bonus round.
Might as well do so here. Still 2 FAMASs out for the CT side in general. G2 have a little bit in terms of the lacking firepower. He might as well get his value out of these weapons rather than just try and full commit towards the economy game, because the money's still going to be low in spite of without being the harsh investment involved. Will be happens to kick things off against Jax. So one of those M4s already taken out of play.
Just the slow walk lurk up to the B stairs, being able to catch out that first player. Modesty putting a re-smoke down towards the bottom of ramp, really trying to take the fight head on. And for NIP, they're going to put a HE forward back. That's doing some further chip damage onto niko.
46 points of health for him now. NIP in a very good position overall. Some damage here and there, and following up with a second good kill. niko's head taken off his shoulders. It's a 5-on-3 advantage. No trades found by G2 thus far.
This is going to have to be risk-based Counter-Strike now for G2. Going for some level of a gamble stack or an info play. 3v5, they don't really know too much of what's going on, and it could just be some further aggression. Try and get Monacy in for a pick.
By an incendiary force forward against Fuzi, who has him covered. Puts bullets down range, but unable to get the definitive kill for it. Just chip damage away on that one individual player. Meanwhile, Plopsky starts working out towards the mid position. Seeing nothing of the G2 side right now. Monacy does get a trade back, and Hunter starts looking into mid as a bit more of a directed defensive, but the T's seem like they want to commit towards the A play.
Yeah, Hunter's got a molly that he could put down towards that default position, trying to deny the bomb eventually when it goes down to the bomb site. And look at this gamble stack, it's coming in towards A.
Smokes up, flashes over, sprays through for Munacy, trying to catch off some T-side elements. They've also got some backup utility back in the back lines. 13 seconds, and finally a blind kill comes in, so we do find ourselves at even once again. Names back, Tag staying alive. Hunter peeks forward though, gets the kill against the man, and that should be enough to win the round. Munacy didn't need to get the 4K, but he got it anyway. It's 3-0 start for G2.
Yeah, what a recovery. When you think of that in the mind of G2, you're in a 3v5 and there's a lack of information. The way that Munacy starts just eerily walking forward from that Ivy angle, looking down the scaffolding, and as soon as they gather that information that there's ramp control, okay, 30, 40 odd seconds left on the clock, let's just gamble stack, let's bring all of our entities over to the A side, and the way they just continue to put pressure on, there was no way that bomb was going to go down.
NIP had such a great start on that round, so to concede all that much to what was ostensibly a bonus for G2, means the tactical pause will come in for the T-side line. A moment's respite to think about their moves from here. Most certainly will be a move into the half-bite for round 4. Cash is not there for the T-side line, so they'll just tank it. A little bit of Kevlar on a couple of players, so Rez and Hampus will be a bit protected. But other than that, on paper, this should be G2 with their 4th round. There's no bonus rifles now, just M4s and AK and AWP as well.
NIP just trying to get as much out of this eco as possible. Try and drop a couple of players like they've done previously. See if they can get the AK out of the hands. If they can drop that AWP too, that could be definitely a way into getting a hold of the economy game. And Munacy just searching for that opening man advantage.
That's what these early rounds are really about here, the economy game. It's Hunter with assistance from Niko. Taking down Fuzi with the HE stack. Jax does get caught off guard towards the outer scaffolding. Hampus work into the B site with a bit of assistance from his teammates. Of course, the boost came in from one of them. Outside of that initial phase, it's very quiet from NIP.
I like this angle from Hampus. Just work with as soon as that smoke goes down, trying to take an immediate duel. And it's going to be onto Jack, surely.
One thing you spotted him either, keeping himself as held away as possible. Jack's back at quad. Waiting for his moment to strike. Meanwhile, Niko working in from the ramp control over towards A. Drops that bomb. Tag caught next. Plopsky can get a responsive. Hampus is now known. He will be removed from play by Alexi B. And the G2 side will fall back to passive positions as Rez tries to continue pressing forward. The AWP of Mercy can't quite land that first shot. Very tight angle hit on the second. Rez gets credited with a couple of kills on the Deagle and maybe even a bomb plant if they can grab the bomb itself. 40 seconds to play with and Alexi B to deal with, but they have done damage here on IP.
This M4 getting picked up, really looking to see if he can engage another fight, try and draw it onto Alexi, who gets boosted up towards that top of orange position, gets himself up to the 4th round. And for G2's standpoint, it all started with that lockout defense towards the B side, but what happened there on A? Hunter struggling, so the same for Munacy. NIP did not upgrade massively on that eco round, Jay. They didn't get a bomb plant, but 3 kills, that's pretty good.
Literally what you're talking about in the pre-round there is the prospect of them just keeping control of the economy, dropping 3 players, keeping the expense up. You can see what that does to the money state here for G2. Lack of overall cash. You can see those shots again from Rez's perspective. Wonderful stuff for the NIP camp. Alexi just pinking in towards mid control again, trying to establish the early defaults on the G2 side. It's Niko that draws first blood though.
There is a quick trade immediately with that AWP, but Attack does not know about this bait and switch setup. 2 players over, Jax has been seen, they don't know about the teammate.
And Hunter will find a responsive. Jack's barely spotted out by the likes of Attack. And again, they can't hold on to the man advantage and they can't get access into the B site. So the default continues playing out with this 2-man boost in mid. The 3-on-3 situation in G2 will not bite on the aggression.
Alexi just trying to keep eyes on to mid in case there's an aggressive mid walk or a lurk, a setup coming through for the NIP squad. We've seen in the mid round they like to slow it down, try and bait a mistake, allow an over aggressive play to come through. And even for Niko, look how aggressive this is.
Flashing from Fuzi to lean forward, unawares of where Niko is. Trying to look up towards 51 and the Harps position. See anything as of right now, though, with the 2 teammates walking out towards mid, though, indicating there's going to be a bit more on the table. That distraction keeping them away from mid, leaving Hunter exposed on one side of the site. Incendiary coming down, that's going to lead to his demise, unless LXTV gets the kills, and he doesn't do so. But calls in the info to Hunter, who makes it a double instead, and turns the whole situation around for G2. Fuzi in the 1v2, has the bomb on his back, and is pressing up through the stairs, but Niko is on the flank, and he'll hold down the round.
What an excellent timing coming through from Alexi. Yeah, he's not able to find a pick when he comes on that rotation away from the A site, looking out for mid. But for Hunter, think about what he's just done. He's put an incendiary up towards the B stairs, and then Alexi's called out that there's two players towards the scaffolding to get that mid to be in. Well, he can just focus all of his attention forward, deal with those two players, and then focus back over to the stairs, because niko's already got the backstab, because he's aggressed down from ramp.
The thing, though, like a single play away from holding down the reset against G2 as well. NIP just getting so close, but not quite touching a tangible win so far here in this matchup. 5-0 for G2, and the economy is still broken for the T side line. Hero AK set up here for round 6, and Hampus is pressing so far aggressive without a lot of T side support.
Man, money aside, this is a phenomenal start for G2. Really putting the pressure on early, giving themselves 5-0. What they're looking for now is to strengthen an economy, keep more players alive, especially up against this hero rifle round.
Noise being made over towards Ramps, going to draw attention back. A flash in towards mid will allow Hunter to start peeking. Alexi B continues to hold contact on the back of the B site. Spots one player, but no more than that. NIP also back off.
Just trying to set this AK up, get some of the pistol players to be the bait, to draw some of the attention forward, to allow that trade to come back in. And even for m0NESY, it'd have to imagine going to have some dry faces towards ramp.
Boost up, trying to look for contact. Shot flick not quite connecting. Again, difficult shots being taken by m0NESY so far on this A-side defense. Ball back to a much more standard position, trying to look on towards side alley. It's niko held out of the sandbags. No Molotovs in play for NIP that can drive him away. They've got to hard check this angle. Not even a nade that can do the damage. A flash and there's 2 smokes available for the execution hit. And now niko swings, sees 1 and 2 and 3. Barely escapes with Hampus' life. Plopsky there with a decent trade. And now m0NESY has all he needs to hold down the A site with backup here and all.
Yeah, NIP are now going to start running into mass numbers over around the A site. They do deal with Hunter. This could allow the bomb to go down.
All right, cash flow being gained by NIP at least. Low HP for Plopsky, though. It'd be nice if he can hand that AK off to Rez, or if they can go back and grab the G2 weapon that was dropped by niko. That's what they're going to try and aim for, but it will be protected by the CT down to the back of the site. Still, the blind spray from Plopsky comes in decent. It's Deagles for Rez. Did go in previous rounds, but not in this one. m0NESY locks it out with the AK kill, and it will be a defuse for Jackson. A 6th round for G2. Bit of a common trend so far in this matchup, though. NIP not quite getting the rounds, but getting closer and closer, dishing out the damage, keeping the economy low. It just takes one of these good rounds to come in from the Swedes before they can really start to get some start in this matchup.
I don't think I've seen a sweatiest 6-0 like the one I'm witnessing right now. This is them really having to work for it. And it's a fantastic position for niko to be in. Anytime you're on an anti-eco, you're up against a light buy, playing out towards the sandbags, you know they're not going to have the mollies or the HEs to deal with you. He finds 3 picks from that position, and still the A-side defense crumbles in a way that more players are falling. The economy in the reserve is not there at all, and NIP know this in the back of their minds.
G2 don't need to make any major changes, just keep playing out this match in the way that they've been doing so far. They're getting the early start, the damage already done to Hampus. 41 points of health for the man. Engagement from Rez behind the smokes, trying to press up towards that ramp control. But still nothing gained. NIP forced to continue the passiveness.
Well, G2 know that NIP aren't putting heavy mid-presence early round at all, so look at the setup. They're bringing 4 over towards the A side, no one out in mid, and just Alexi to be the sole anchored over a B.
Still quiet. Still careful. Tag. Make his players out towards the stairs position. Jax, niko having their crossfire set to play anti-flash against NIP. Not a lot of rapid control being taken. Instead, G2 are going to take it back with Jax. A kill on Hampus. Starting off the kill counts in this round, and again, NIP just fall away.
You could just feel, with that pick coming through, you're driving the T side to elsewhere on the map to regain some map presence over to mid and potentially over to B. Alexi's waiting for that walk forward from tag.
Spotted out by tag. Smoke down to the left to buy himself a bit of cover. We'll try and see if we can funnel them towards the outside of the site. Evade most of the nade damage, and the incendiary coming down. A second HE lands for 34 points of health, though. Jax continues watching, continues peeking in. 20 seconds and NIP have got to make action now. Smokes will come down. Jax will get forced back behind and the Molotov trying to drive an invisible CT away as Hunter gets away with the kill onto Estag. Alexi's still back over a quad, finally accounted for by foozy. They almost didn't do so, and Plopsky gets a trade back to a 3 versus 3. The bomb's got to commit and get planted. Hunter trying to see if he can find it in the midst of the smoke, but can't quite manage to do so. And all that distraction pushes Plopsky in an aggressive position, but niko on the backstab deals with Reds. Foozy with a responsive. Plopsky responded by Hunter to a 1 versus 1, but 5 HP for the man to try and catch the AWP off. His AWP v AWP battles here. But where does he go with this? Foozy playing careful. AK now back in his hands. And hearing the footsteps of Hunter making noise on the site. Shots ringing out. Can't quite find the man. Defuse kit to hold the whole defuse. To hold the whole defuse. It seems like Foozy forced out, aggressing. And finally taking his man down. Making it a triple kill. And finally winning the first round for NIP.
Yeah, what a grand round coming through for someone like Foozy, the youngest guy here on the NIP side, really stepping up. Pure fundamentals with the trading game. You see the way that the time is low, they've been shut out of that ramp control, they're down by a mad disadvantage, and while they know that Alexi's there at quad, they struggle to deal with him. The time's incredibly low, they force a lot of those fights. niko on that backstab, wraparound play into the B stairs, only manages 1 before eventually falling, and even for Hunter, it felt like he wanted to stick that whole 5 seconds until he heard that sound cue of just how close the last individual of Foozy was. Has to get off it, try and hit the quick scope, doesn't happen at all, and now for NIP, they know to themselves, we've broken the economy and really hit home hard.
And they've broken the win streak of G2 thus far, 6 in a row to start off this matchup. All that damage compounding itself for the Ninjas, meaning that there's only 2 M4s to work with here for the G2 side. 3 Deagles outside of that. And they've not been the ones that are having the highlight Deagle play so far on Vertigo. Set in with the rifles, Foozies, AWP. Try and take point on the A default for NIP. Ramp control, Hampus leaning up very fast into the tarps position. Could find niko and co. With the smoke being set already towards the alley entrance. Around the corner, niko gets caught. Manassi also being seen. Damage being done to Hampus though. He's got to be the man to rotate away. Leave it to his teammates to do the rest.
Something that I love watching, especially with Hampus, is just the space that he's able to find. Some of those cracks he is able to exploit on that T side, and we just haven't seen that play before. A solo, slow walk up to the top of tops. As soon as he hears that util placement, he just knows what's going on to peek further forward, to do damage onto niko, to assist with a teammate to getting further down onto Monacy, who ends up falling to the HG.
Yeah, tagged up initially and just sat back in that sandbags position. Didn't do much about it. Now a dead man. Jax is at least trying to make plays and creep around towards spawn to flank in against NIP. Hunter will try and join Alexi and see if they can hold the A-site execution, which is about to come in.
They need a play. They need someone to step up. Another HG spam coming through. Jax is giving the indication there's nothing over here at B.
Oh, but he's leaning in towards the B stairs. Angle though, it's going to be a bit of time stalled against his name. Plopsky spotted. Burst fire from Hunter. Gets away with a kill. Drops the bomb in the open. And that should call in all the info they need. But still, Jax is rotating via the B site and back in from the standard backline positions of the CT side. Hunter gets a secondary kill though. Essa tag is dropped. And Foozy will sneak in the bomb plant.
Lexi expecting a wraparound play. Hunter trying to work on the edge of this smoke. More damage coming through and actually dealing with the AWP bar.
He's hunting them all down. Triple to his name, looking for the quadra, and he gets it as well. Oh, and the ace and everything. 1 rifle's all they need for G2. It's 7-1.
Mate, what a sequence coming out from Hunter. We've seen the multi-frags in the few previous rounds of just his capabilities, but that one there, that is a beauty of a sight. The way that he's able to bring those advantages back, defending up on A, and to finish the round on an ace, he made that look easy.
Well, it seems like the casual approach has certainly worked out better for him. First ace of the series, it's coming so early. And again, off the back of 2 rifles, the info play from Jackson, the dominant play from Hunter, that's one to add to the highlight reel.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's another one of those rounds where G2 are fighting back from a 3v5. NIP will be devastated knowing they had so many advantages with that ramp control with 2 players up. They weren't able to get more out of it.
Beautiful shooting onto that last player in particular. A tight headshot ankle to hit over towards ramp. And it puts G2 right back in with the buy here. 2 AK saved. AWP out for Monacy, who's going to lean in with niko once again out towards ramp, flashed in, or just jump face dry. Not seeing anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, they're trying to get that play that Hampus made in the last round up to the top, sort of slow walk aggression onto niko.
Molotov goes down to his position, sees Rez, but Rez credited with the opening kill. Galil in hand starts things off at NIP.
Yeah, slightly more pace in this round for NIP, gaining that ramp control, putting the incendiary down towards that sandbags position, forcing the fight and out into the open. m0NESY expecting Hampus just to swing and get a jiggle to bring it back into a 4v4.
Back out of dodge here, the AWP are going to try find the elevated angle against Hampus, which might prove to his success. Careful though, Hampus not quite going for the full-on commitment, just the jiggle peaks back and forth in between the ramp and the tops. m0NESY can extend as Hampus falls away. Now to re-aggress from the sandbags again could lead to his demise. 40 seconds, he's pulling off a fake though. His teammates rotating back towards the B site as Hampus will find m0NESY at 5 versus 3, and now the rotation's going to have to get called.
I just don't know what's going on. Jax with the sole defensive here over towards a B site, needs to try and find some impact. It just doesn't happen at all. You've got Lurks up on A. How has Hampus been able to get into this position undetected so far?
The ultimate Lurk play, it feels like. G2 have left the A site entirely, knowing that B was the play, and unfortunately couldn't hold down the defensive. This should be a second round for NIP. Hampus just looking for exit frags. The case of when he hunts onto Alexi B at what timing, or if he can wrap in against Hunter. I think he might have just been spotted though. The AWP's watching the alley entrance. And yeah, he will deal with him. So that Lurk won't quite find a second kill, but it will certainly be part of a round for NIP.
And you get into some very awkward territory again, where money in the reserve is just not quite here. So you need absolutely everything forward of maintaining these two last weapons.
I think that AWP can get away with something more here. Of course, Plopsky is aggressing. Alexi trying to hide. I think he's going to get away with it. Seems so. Yeah, 2 guns saved in for G2, a second round for NIP, and once again, they've broken the economy state of the G2 side. A tactical pause will be called in for the first time for that team.
Hey, you might have to force buy here. m0NESY's on double eco status. You're on single round loss bonus. You've got an AWP and an AK to work with, so sort of back yourself with the confidence to get the force up, to not put yourself in shaky economical turmoil, and just have all the weapons to work with going into the next. Overall there, when you look at how that round panned out, the timing for Hampus, it felt as if m0NESY wanted to start retaking some of that ramp control back. And while he's clearing out a lot of those common positions, he doesn't have all the info, so he gets caught off, and there's just players everywhere. All over the map, over at B, over at ramp. The read's just not quite there, and here it is with a force buy. G2 buying down.
Deagle and SMG being the weaker elements of this buyback, though. And you can expect it. They had double eco status, so they were going to force the issue here. NIP, all sorts of weapons. Still rocking that Galil for Rez. It worked in the previous, so why not? AWP in for m0NESY has been saved, though, so he's going to be the big damage dealer. Lean forward towards ramp. Suppressed by smokes. NIP will not be as aggressive with the ramp take this round.
And when we think about the responses, and especially the trades towards ramp for G2, it's mainly been the riflers finding the impact. So in a round like this, where you don't actually have the best weaponry to work with, you look at m0NESY of creating opportunities.
Hampus boosted up again to try and make a B play. There's only one player on the site itself, though. Max here and Util being thrown down. The nades, Hampus pixels away from spotting that man. The Molotov's back at quad, and his attention's in the direction. Will spot out Jax, finally take the spray down. niko there with a quick tap to respond. The 4 versus 4. And now backup has arrived, but the commitment's yet to come through. It could still come back out towards the A side. S-Attack does get niko, though. That might change the plans.
Very clever here for NIP. They're putting pace down over towards B. They're drawing as much of that util as possible, and they're sensing misdirection for the European squad to start pulling them around on the map. At least m0NESY's hearing the footsteps.
Aggress to try and challenge onto the wall. Red has dropped that bomb. Duke in with a second shot against Plopsky and drop him to the man advantage, making it triple and all. Doesn't need the quadra. Alexi B gets the final, and G2 will hold the 8th.
Oh, that's electric coming through from m0NESY. He's really the only player to defend up there from A. He starts hearing those footsteps in ramp. He can comment over. Rotations are still underway to get Alexi over, and that Jax is playing over towards B, but it comes down to the AWP, finding that impact. Great shot coming through, and he has to keep fighting, Jay, because he just knows he doesn't have the support on the bomb side to help out the trades. He needs to keep fighting, and Alexi finishes up the last player with the AK.
And that's the level we talked about m0NESY being able to hit in the pre-game here. What a player, what a find he's been, and another one to add to the tally. Hampus removed from play in ramp. And already the peak's in a little bit late on the smokes, means that NIP just can't seem to find a trade. They're forced to fall back again and try and play from a different angle, but Jax has the angle at B covered off. Fuzi and S-Attack now dead.
What an insane round. You can start to feel the confidence blooming for the AWP to find that success out to ramp with an opening pick. But the off angle from Jax, 2 kills up on the B anchor, finally being dealt with, but the advantage still here for G2.
Popsky's hoping that Hunter gives up the ghost above the smoke. He won't opt to do so as Reyes tries the rotation. Alexi's also aggressing in from mid. Able to get down ladder room and try find another counter flank for the G2 side here. Press them, bracket them into the B site, which is the right call for this AK. The flash is going over from Hunter. Will try and stall as now it's his turn to solo hold a site, but not completely alone. Alexi B closes in the pins into the backstab, deals with Reyes, drops that bomb, leave Plopsky alone to clutch it. 45 seconds to try and do so. Leaning in against Hunter, who reveals his position. Popsky on top, driving out in the open, trying to force out a decent kill, will be able to do so. But now got to focus on a backstab where both CTs are coming in from now. The bomb's dropped on the lower floor, I think, as well. Doesn't stop the spray. Popsky unawares of where Munasee's at. And patience is a virtue for this young man as he secures another round for G2.
G2 adding another one to the tally with very limited players surviving. Money State's still not fantastic on the buyback. For NIP's sake, though, no bomb plant. You can't really get yourself in a position where you're buying down the rifles. The best that they can hope for is a hero rifle. And when we think about the previous one that was brought out, it still maintained a lot of damage.
Once again, NIP have been put back into this reset position where they can force up to some decent half-by pistols. Not quite full investment as of yet. Bomb plant bonus is also to consider for the NIP camp. And again, that reset potential which they've been buying for basically this entire matchup has come in a couple of times, but not to fully follow suit and follow up here for NIP. Flashing their way up and over towards the B stairs. Alexi B, the incendiaries go down. The SMG tries to peek out against the stairs players and does do a little bit of damage. Take a lot more back in return. Jax has got to try bail him out, get his kill. Look for a double up, not quite a triple. Zafuzi and Estatak are breaking open the site, but Hunter has other plans. Finally deals with the majority of the forces, and once again it's Plops in the clutch.
1v3, looking for damage at this point. Even Hunter aggressing through that smoke to allow that crossfire to come through. Him and Niko playing on other sides of the Jenny, making sure that if one of them goes down, the other one's going to be there for the trade. 10 and 2. It feels as if freedom is finally being applied here. The lack of pressure being applied, knowing that, oh, in that last game against Entropic, it's the first one back with our in-game leader of Alexi, and it's a game that we absolutely need to win. Now that that's settled and they're going up against a top team in the group, they're playing so much more confidently.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there. They're a G2 side that are playing without pressure, and they're playing to their ultimate confident form, as you can see with Munassey and Jax combining out of the B side. 3 kills, no trades, damage done, sure, but it doesn't feel like Plopsy is going to get the trade back on Munassey. The angle held of the AWP, further incendiaries to stop him from getting to the bomb. There's no way in now.
We're really starting to see what Munassey can bring forward now. The first 8-9 rounds of the map, we saw some consistency, but we didn't see the big moments, and now we're just getting them on a frequent playing field. Over there at the B stairs, bringing the AWP further down with Jax, further HE. Plopsky just can't do anything.
Smokes to suppress any backup rotations. Molotov to drive him forward or back, do some damage most certainly. Hampus walking outside alley, dealt with by Niko, and yeah, this round going about as well as rounds from G2 should go here. 11-2 now up to the board, and this is a stunning start from the CT side. Jax with the latest, the final kill of the round. NIP's pick has been a shambolic play so far.
Yeah, you could just see the way that G2 are almost changing up their setups on the City side to make them the unreadable position. We were giving so much credit and praise to NIP with the way that they were moving around a lot on the T side, allowing those lurks to come through. Think about the creativity in this sort of play. Run boosting Munassey into a flying B stairs take to get that opening man advantage and then to continue fighting.
That was a beautiful kill. And again, just emphasizing the teamwork that we've seen from G2 thus far. It's a shame we didn't see more of this kind of confident play throughout the course of the week. Obviously, again, mitigating circumstances. NIP taking their 3rd tactical timeout just prior to round 14. They need to find something soon. If they can make it 11-4, it's workable, but it's still such a one-sided half already for G2.
Well, when you think about when they played Fnatic, they got 9 rounds on their T side. When they played Mouse, they got 8 rounds on their T side. They're looking at 4 at max here on Vertigo.
A lot of counterplay work to be done by these guys. Marking forward for Niko, the AK watching the incendiaries go down for electric cover of the ramp entrance itself. AK v AK duel 1 or 2 brought down by NIP. Doesn't quite work out for either side as of yet. The nade damage will start to chip away at Plopsky here.
Yeah, starting to bring a lot of players over towards the A site, and niko wants to try and face it head on, get that smoke down, work around it. AK on the other side.
Nades on to Rez. Pressed by smokes. niko's hearing those footsteps just against that man player at the end of the smoke. Great kill in. Flash support from Hunter. Deals with Plopsky. Both AKs dropped 5v3.
Oh, even re-smoke up towards the B stairs. As soon as they see that ramp is open, they relay that information over, and Jax is just time stalling now.
And they've rehearsed this clearly. NIP trying now to break into the B site, trying their hand at recovering some sort of bomb plant at the very least, to at least hold the economy state in a decent stead for the final round of the half. They do get away with one good pick, but Hunter, again, double up of his own accord. Hampus, a decent deagle shot, but Hunter makes it a triple. And it will be 12-2 for G2. This is a monstrous game for them.
And the setup there, you think back to how niko made that play possible. The HE came forward, that forced Rez ever so slightly off that scaffolding position. Sound cue. Gets that first fight, and the flash is almost instant. As soon as he deals with Rez, to then transfer forward back into the ramp sandbags to make it a 5-on-3, relay that information over to Jax, who can re-smoke up towards the top of the B stairs, and from that point onwards, they're playing 3 at B for G2.
One last round in the half. NIP now looking for a maximum of 3. 13-2 might be a little bit too unrecoverable for me. I don't know about you, Dwayne, but it feels like this map at least might already be a bit too far gone for them.
Yeah, it definitely has that feeling behind them. G2 all over them in this standpoint. Honestly, from the sandbags, has got some further support with the util.
Smokes and Molotovs or incendiaries combining. Flash forward for niko again to try and go for the peaks and picks. This worked out well in the previous round. He's going to regress very far forward. m0NESY does bait in the shot from Fuzi and sacrifice his life for it. It does allow niko to sneak forward though.
First time an opening man advantage has been gained by the Swedes in quite a while, but niko's still so aggressive. Needs a couple of kills here.
Gets away with hand-push, can't transfer fully over towards Rez. So a 4-on-3 in NIP's exchange. Hunter now with the AWP picked up and set in. Ready to receive more. Flashbang turned away from, leans up. Good shot towards Plopsky. Evens up the standings once again.
Oh, double AWPs to try and defend up against the A site. Hunter turning away from the flash and finding the instant connection. And now for NIP, they're running into A. They've got to deal with both of these AWPs.
Molotovs ringing out to the sandbags. No smokes to try and cover it off, and Lexi falls away from position. Nade could have come in close towards both him and Esatag. Actually might land on all 3 players. Esatag just sponges it, and his teammates maintain their lives for the most part. Leg shot on Fuzi though, 12 points of HP. Alexi continuing to do damage through the smoke. Shots continue to ring out. That bomb is going to try and go down in the last few seconds, but the smokes are going to clear. The Deagle can strike, get away with 1. Stand his way on through, switch to the AK and everything. Look for Esatag, the AWPer, waiting for his chance to strike. The bomb's got to go down right now, and Lexi going in for the knives. A play to close out the half. A confident half from G2. It's 13-2.
Oh my goodness, what a performance coming through from G2. And just think about the second half, Jay. We might not even get any. 13-2. My goodness, come back after this.
I think one thing that was missing to win the title was maybe experience together on the stage and lack of practice as well. I mean, I don't want to use things as an excuse because they were also having a stand-in. They were also lacking of practice and team play. It wasn't pretty CS that was being played in the final. Like, I think both teams were doing mistakes. Both teams didn't play their best CS, but maybe they had more experience on their side. Maybe not, I'm not even sure, but yeah, from just our perspective, I felt like we needed more practice. We could have been more versatile, I would say. And I think we were just being too one-dimensional in some situations, and they just kept countering us, and we didn't find a way how to adapt. And yeah, I think we just need more practice, and we will be much better than what we have shown in the grand final.
We imagine we'd be stunned by this matchup, and certainly it feels like NIP have G2 dominating thus far on the opposing map. Pick a 13-2 half the way. How do we even begin to start to bring this back?
Shell Shocked is the first one, and the individual I think we have to highlight has got to be Hunter. When we think about the last 3 months, he's the second worst rated player on Vertigo for G2. He put up, what, 23 frags and 5 deaths in the first half? How does that happen?
It's not a bad question, honestly. Like, he definitely has posted up the performance that we wanted to see from him. I mean, we were looking towards niko and m0NESY as being the main star players, and they've had their impact as well. But man alive, Hunter has been on the hunt, to lack a better term. His prey has been the ninjas in pajamas. A lot of work to be done now going into the second half. You mentioned how many rounds NIP have secured on their T side. Nowhere close to those kind of numbers in this particular map up. So now on the defensive is where they're going to have to pick up the pace.
And if we look at potentially the first 8, 9, 10 sort of rounds, I would look at it and say, scoreline's a bit misleading because NIP have been able to put a lot of damage forward and they're so close to an economy reset. Think about the last few rounds of that half, how dominant they were, how one-sided it was, how the lack of bomb plans just weren't even there for NIP.
Yeah, a lot of things to clean up. 11 rounds to bring back. On the CT side, as we get to the pistol, G2 making their fast moves up towards side alley already. Hampus with his USP will body block the smoke, at least try and suppress them a little bit more. It's Rez with the dualies, picking up the opener against m0NESY, wrapping the corner against niko, who does get credit by S-Tag at least for a 2-for-1. That bomb being spotted, and Plopsky also chimes in. Now left to 2 players on the G2 side, and finally it looks like NIP are going to catch a break.
Yeah, what a body block that was of the smoke, because it just siphoned off that crunch to come through from the top of ramp and that side alley yellow position, and almost fought the defenses to give the advantage, to slow that round down, that the players entering forward of m0NESY, Hunter, and Alexi aren't even able to find an entry at all. And for Jackson niko, they're trying to force a mistake. They're trying to get an aggro duel for NIP, anything at this point.
niko only a few pixels away from being spotted out by Hampus. S-Tag hiding behind the orange boxes, getting Jax instead. Now all up to niko to ace clutch in this round with 28 points of HP. Already a player down for his own part. The trade out for the weapons now will reveal his position. The P250 is at least picked up, but can't land a shot onto Hampus, and rotations will be called in by the opposition here. You've got Fuzi on the backstab down the stairs. And again, NIP, an all-important pistol to save a lifeline, catch a small break now in this map up. It's one step and a very long road back, though.
Very clever here for NIP, peeking together, not really giving up any individual duels. Fuzi coming through, out for those ramp players. All in all, you've got the backstab in from the bottom of that forklift position, and it's a start for NIP. Although, we have to entertain the conclusion of what do we see against LFO and against Mousesports? The last 2 best-of-3s in the Pro League group that NIP have played, they've lost their map pick, Jay. And while they've got a pistol start, they're still down 3-13.
It's 10 rounds to the difference. Way back in with the guns being brought out. G2 not investing at all into round 17. Of course, no bomb plant bonus. 1 P250 and 1 Deagle will come in for them the same. They'll try and lean in towards ramp. It's niko's Deagle in particular, looking for the long-range duels, those single headshots. Rez has found him, though, and is going to goosh him.
Yeah, probably try and get the hands of a Deagle into somebody else. Higher HP when it's possible. Just trying to see if they can force Fuzi and Rez to continue fighting up from the sandbags. But NIP know better than this. They're playing it cautiously at ramp.
Should begin their moves now. No flashes or smokes to support those kind of moves. They counter smoke instead from the CT side. Rez will take a bit of damage for it, get away with a decent kill alongside Fuzi, and yeah, they'll lock out against the G2 side. Again, no Kevlar, full eco, easy pickings.
That's exactly what you want out of that one, not to lose too much against the upgraded pistols, because now the rifles are going to be coming through, and you would have to think in the back of your mind, Jay, this is where G2 carry on where they left off. They had such a dominant first half. Yeah, they haven't managed the pistol, and it was just an anti-eco Glock round with an upgraded Deagle into the last. This is where pressure gets right back on, and this is clinical for NIP to continue this streak forward.
Bonus weapons out for them for now. Similar strategy to what G2 had on their CT start. Just as slow from G2 in this follow-up default. A bit more aggression from niko and Alexi, though. Starting to press in with no counter smokes back for NIP. More deeper onto the ramp position for the T side as they'll lean forward and not take contact.
The respect that NIP are giving over here at Rap. They're not even fighting for it. They're allowing room for Jax to work with to put that smoke down towards CT spawn. G2 can just set themselves up to go for an AP.
Perfect spray in for Alexi, catching Fuzi, and G2 will gain site access. This might already be a safe call for NIP, although they've got to consider going for the retake, considering the severe deficit they've got to try and bring back from here. Damage being done to Hunter, at least to 26 points of HP. Weaker weapons on the retake. They've lost an M4. The mask getting reloaded. Rez taking some damage as well, so it continues to get worse and worse for the NIP retake as Rez will fall through the wall bang to Hunter. Another kill to add to his tally. 24 deep in this matchup. Smoke's going down. They'll try get to the site, try hold on to the defuse. It's Jax watching for the flank just in case, but no, they're all committing. Etta tag next to drop. Plopsky and Hampers can combine, get away with a couple of decent kills, but not enough to hold off the T side line. 14-4 now.
And just compare the playstyles. For G2, when they're on the city side, they kept bringing Monacy forward with the AWP, contesting ramp control. Niko too, Hunter supporting with some of that utility. That round right there, full respect given up to G2. No one fighting ramp, no one even really fighting on the A site. You've got one single individual behind default that gets caught sleeping, caught off guard, and as soon as Alexi gets that pick, that's the round's pretty much over and done with from that point onwards.
NIP losing an all-important one can at least buy back the weapons thanks to the saved money. But only a couple of M4s coming out forward and wrap the corner already for Alexi B. Going to press the issue and catch off Plopsky, kick things off on the right foot. Molotov's going down. That's a tag with the Deagle, going to hold off against them all. Molotov's the way even. He's on low HP. Hampus now dead. Does give an M4 back to his teammate, but definitely would have been a better player here. On such little HP. Again, he's going to go falling so effectively. 5 versus 2. G2 in full control. Fuzi getting Jax at least. But this will not be a retake, especially with Rez now falling.
No, not at all. And just look at the precision with that util usage. The flashes coming up over high, the mollies down into the bomb site, the easy path for the entries, and then to put pressure on this last player, to have that lurk coming through from Niko, who's slowly making his way up towards the top of the ramp. They realize the importance of taking this M4 out of play, because this is going to be G2 on map point.
And a decimating map point at that. 11 for NIP to make up once again. This time to get to OT to try and hold on to survival in this matchup, let alone take it away from G2. That's a whole other story in of its own right. What a matchup this has been right now for the international squad. And again, coming into this, all signs pointing to NIP's favor. To see something as one-sided as this, it really is a shock to the system.
It is. Is it a shock to the concurrent match days, though? That's what we have to consider. The fact that the pressure's off, that G2 aren't going to be able to put themselves in a top 3 position. They can play with freedom, take it a little bit more relaxed. And the way that they're playing on the server, I wish they'd play like this all the time.
Definitely wish they played like that during this week, certainly. They were alongside NIP as being the 2 top teams you would have expected to go ham in this group, the 2 top teams you would have expected to dominate that first place position. It's Fuzi getting at least one good pick back for the NIP side, but the trades from Niko and Alexi still hold on to the man advantage for G2. Nades onto his position as well towards sandbags. Okay, so storming that A site from here.
And for NIP, the options, gamble stack, make an info play. Fuzi thinking about relocating, trying to get deeper into the bomb site with Plopsky, and they're actually moving away from A.
Incendiary is going down. We'll start to clear up with the smokes up from the T side line. Pressing one entryway to the site. NIP will have to focus wholeheartedly on the retake. No choice but to commit towards it here. G2 getting that bomb up here from Monacy. Nades up. Fuzi's dead. Bomb plant will go down. 40 seconds now for G2 to take the first map away. NIP's own map pick. Smoke's going down to pressing another CT player. He's the player with the pistol, Plopsky with the rifle, the FAMAS versus them all. Does get Monacy at least. There's so much more to find as he wraps in. Tag will fall, and Jax will close it out with a triple and a 16-4 map win, a quick map win for G2.
Shell-shocked, really. When we think about the losses that NIP have taken, 2 maps they have dropped this entire event coming into the best of 3, and it was a 16-14 and an overtime. What has happened now?
It's a very good question, an absolutely brilliant showing from G2. I have no real words to describe how excellent that was, because it really was that excellent. We'll break it down in more detail after the break, and G2 certainly will be feeling happy about that win. brilliant showing from G2, a 16-4 victory for the G2 side. And it's not uncommon to see NIP lose their own map pick, but I think this might be the most one-sided loss they've taken on their map pick so far here in the Pro League, right, Dwight?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. The only losses we saw was against Mousesports on Vertigo, their map pick, 16-19, and then against LFO yesterday, 14-16 loss on Overpass, again, their map pick, but not like this. For G2's point of view, the last time we've seen a 16-4 or more one-sided performance in them on Vertigo was on the 19th of August last, or 2020. I mean, this is almost 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes it so shocking. Just not only the fact that they lost their map pick, but just in such a stunning fashion. G2 came into this match very prepared, and I think, again, you mentioned it a couple times during that map. I'll repeat it right here. The key thing is that this is a G2 that are playing without pressure, and they're playing with confidence because of it. This looks like a G2 that we hope to have seen all week. We wish we could have seen all week at this particular stage, but it's the one we're seeing right now, and it still holds positive signs for the future here. I mean, like, where do we even start talking about the mistakes? Do we want to talk about mistakes for NIP or promises for G2? Because we can really go down both angles in this map up.
And the way that I look at it is the start, at least, of what we saw on Vertigo was actually fairly decent for NIP. They got a lot of rounds that were very close. It came down to a couple of clutches in some sort of situations, but they weren't capitalizing on the rounds. We saw, what, 2 5-on-3s within the first 8 rounds of the map that just weren't getting converted. And for NIP's standpoint, when you've got those kind of rounds in your pocket, you can't be losing them.
And G2's tenacity as well to constantly fight back, even when they're on the back foot. The number of times we saw ecos or half-buys or only a couple of rifles doing all the damage. Of course, there was that Hunter Ace round, which really was one of the highlight plays that he was able to manage. And he, in general, had an incredible performance over from the G2 side.
Yeah, he was just all over it. Whether it was multi-frags, whether it was important rounds, or just consistency. We saw even situations in which he was using util to set up niko to fight out to that ramp portion. And then once m0NESY started getting involved into the game and we got those aggressive AWP picks out to ramp and out from the B stairs when that run boost came in, that's when I knew this map is done. As soon as you're making confident plays like that, you've got everything in your favor.
It's funny how we talked about niko and m0NESY being the 2 main stars to watch out for here in the G2 side, but once m0NESY got going and started hitting plays like this, we didn't need to see niko. Like, niko went completely flat in terms of that matchup, and he didn't need to do anything massive, so credit to him. Just leave the spotlight to your cousin and to your young star here, and that's the winning formula that G2 are able to utilize. Again, such a dominating performance from NIP, and mentally, they must be crushed having lost the map in this sort of fashion. Yes, it is another map pick that they've lost once again in Pro League, but just in such a dominating fashion. Like, they've got to look towards map 2 and really buck their game up.
Yeah, DJL's got to have a word with them in this break because the mental game is going to be massive here for NIP on the way that they fight back in this series because they got slapped about on the first map. And for a team that's gone 4-0, who hasn't really struggled against anyone, that sort of swiftly made their way into this position at top of the group, and then you come into your last day against a team that's not even in the top 3 and you get decimated like that, no one could have seen this coming.
No, absolutely not. I mean, maybe you could have seen an angle in which they could have lost it close range, and that's the only sort of way I could see a map loss coming in for NIP on their own map pick in that sort of sense. And I just feel like it's got to be destroying knowing that you've lost essentially a match to Hunter, I want to say. Like, I feel like he was the main element that was able to get it all together here. If he was the only element that was going, then maybe that could have been the way in which NIP could have kept it close, but I feel like because of his level of performance, that really was the difference maker for the G2 side.
And just think about some of the AWPing too. We saw that one round that Fuzi was able to win the 1v1 over towards the B side. After that point onwards, you can't even recollect how many AWP kills were coming through because it didn't feel like it was there a lot of the time. The money definitely wasn't fantastic for NIP as a whole because they weren't getting bomb plants. Think back to where it was sort of 8-1, 8-2, around that sort of scoreline. For the last 5-6 rounds of the half, there were just no plants. It was by eco on a consistent basis.
And G2 just kept rising higher and higher to establish their main star fragger, who we want to take a look at on the comparison here for the Air Force Aim High head-to-head comparison. We're taking a look at, of course, Hunter. We have to highlight him. And we're going to compare him to the top fragger of Plopsky over on the other side of the board. And the key thing I want to mention is that these numbers aren't terrible for Plopsky. It's just that they're just ridiculously higher for the likes of Hunter here in this one.
And even take into consideration, no M4 kills out for Plopsky. Or what's the reason that? Look at the scoreline at the half. We didn't even get much of a second half. We didn't even get a chance to see what the Swedes could do on their CT side of their map pick because it was all of what Hunter was able to do. Those multi-fragging abilities to put up nearly 130 ADR on an opposition map pick, that's unheard of.
Absolutely not. And I think the only silver lining that NIP can take away from this head-to-head is the fact that I don't think Hunter's going to do something like that again in the second map. I don't think he's going to hold those same level of numbers in the likes of Inferno, because I feel like this is a really, really standout performance. The backup concern to that is m0NESY and niko, and whether they can do the exact same thing on Inferno.
Everyone was on point. Everyone was setting each other up really nicely. They were converting the round. And Hunter in the late round, this is where he was able to shine the most, locking down defenses, being that rotator player in between the B and the A site, assisting where required, but also putting that damage through and finding that impact when it came to numbers being posted.
Well, let's start talking about our next map here. Of course, it is the pick of G2. NIP have fought back from the brink over the course of this entire week so far, and obviously they've won their opposing map pick as a result of that on several occasions. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that we could be going towards the third map. But I want to ask you the biggest thing you think NIP need to change now in this transition to Inferno.
It has to be capitalizing on winnable rounds. That has to be the meta and the mindset coming through into Inferno. When you've got those opening man advantages, when you might even have a 5-on-3, making sure you stay composed and you find the round itself throughout, because there were so many situations in the beginning stages of Vertigo where they had those sort of advantages, but they weren't closing.
They've only played it once so far this week. This will be NIP's second outing on Inferno in the Pro League group stage. Can they trump G2 and hold survival in this series? We'll find out after the break.
What CIS teams are doing really well at the moment, I think they're really good to read the game and like play slow and play smart, I think. And I think Virtus Pro, they have been our like kryptonite for a while now, and they're really a tough team to beat at the moment for us. So yeah, we tried to watch them a lot recently to like try to like figure out how to beat a team like that, and they are pretty similar to teams like Navi and Gambit in general. Like all these teams have they have the same like ideas and the game plans often, and they think alike. So. And it is tough for us, like European teams, to come into that, because it's really different between those guys and European teams. So yeah, it's really difficult to beat them.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
Choose nades, choose a smoke, choose a flashbang. Choose team badges to support your favourite CSGO team. Choose an ESEA Premium membership. Choose routes you know bring in wins. Choose pro video tips. Choose the fan club wars. Choose behind the scenes content. Choose good grades. Choose guns you know you can shoot right. Choose bingo. Choose the equipment you know is going to get your team the win thanks to heat maps. Choose the CSGO Hub Premium, the complete package to help you and your squad achieve all your CSGO goals.
a virus, but we call it the antidote. It's an answer to silence. The future is here to revolt.
It's a good start for G2 thus far in the series, a dominating map 1 to take open the NIP map pick. Let's see whether they can take their own map pick of Inferno. Again, NIP, a lot of work to be done in this one, Dwayne. Obviously, to follow on from the conversation we were having before the break, there's going to be a lot of capitalization that's got to be done by the Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've got to be able to find those advantageous positions and turn them into rounds, because that was the one key thing they were missing over the course of that entire map up. It was rounds.
And I'd love to fuel the audience with some confidence and say, well, when we look at history of Inferno, it's actually quite competitive. There's been some very narrow score lines, and sometimes it even goes the way of NIP. But then I think back to the last head-to-head, Jay. The last time we saw Inferno 16-6 for G2. Now I look at how Map 1 played out, and all of those factors that we saw on Vertigo might just come swimming back here on Inferno.
Well, to reinstall the confidence from the previous result, not the best of 1 in Blast, but also the best of 3 from the tail end of last year. That was a 16-14 win for G2. So they've proven that they can be competitive against this squad on this map. So I still feel like there's more on in the tank for these guys. I still feel like there's more in this series. They've already lost many a great map pick so far in the Pro League, and they've been able to turn it around with the second by winning out their opponent's map pick. So it's entirely possible that this could still go the way of the Ninjas as we get started. It's the pistol round of Inferno between NIP and G2.
It all comes down to the start. Being able to get off to some good territory on this CT side and defensively playing out this A site. 3 players here. Rez trying to get into the graveyard. Esatag here in the info at long.
Smokes down, taps forward for Esatag. Let's get away with a decent kill on towards Niko. That's a decent opening, but unable to find anything more here. The taps on from Jax. We'll spot out Rez as Fuzi gets his trades in, but Jax doubles up and breaks open the A site. There's a player out towards Pit. They will try and hold on. Fuzi will be able to trade. Modesty as Jax will end up falling, and Alexi is alone towards clutching. He'll tap on to the player at Mini Pit, but Plopsky is going to overwhelm him with the pistol round for NIP.
Very good stalling there of the positioning from NIP. You can see the way that Esatag is able to spot the contact, hear a lot of that information coming through from long, and he just underhands the smoke, slows it down out at long. Jax does a very good job of trying to insert himself into library to try and bring some of those advantages back, dealing with Rez out from the graveyard and even onto Esatag as well. The issue is so much time stalling coming through. Yeah, the bomb gets planted onto the bomb side, but no one else really wreaks that success. And now for G2, they can try and force it up, get that AK down onto Niko with armor and full utility.
It's a much better start for NIP in this map up. Getting things going initially on the pistol round, and if they can continue the momentum, then maybe this could end up being a decent map for them on the CT side at the very least. G2 did get the bomb plant though, so there is a rebuy back in.
Plopsky with the HE down towards this banana position. Has to be quite deep considering banana control has not been taken at all. So all this early util usage towards the Nana position isn't actually doing any chunks onto the G2 side. And now with the just flash over the top, they're able to start clearing some of this map control and getting up to the half wall with a boost up for Niko.
Looking onto Plopsky's position at the CT across though, so it's not going to be contact yet for G2. Plopsky's also got backup on the site itself. So right now, these 2 SMGs have most of their bases covered, but might get overwhelmed by the rifle if Niko takes the peek into the right moment. Plopsky a little bit late to react, so he takes damage.
Just using that crack position to get the contact, put the smoke down, but he's still taking a lot of damage because of it. Needs to try and set Esatag up towards his first Orange's position. G2 are anticipating a B-site execution coming through in their likes, considering the fact that they haven't taken any map control towards A.
Hold down the vertical crossfire from the first boost down, the first cubby. Waiting for G2 to go around the corner and try to commit to this. The third player's on the way in. Hampers with the M4 suppressed behind the smoke over at CT. Plopsky's going to burn. Esatag is going to let him burn down as well. Try hold the bait and switch. Look for Alexi B getting all important kill as a player that's already in the sight though. Jax the Deagle can trade the man. So a 4 versus 3 firing through the smoke. Campus charges forward but doesn't get the kill shot on Munacy. A single point of damage done but eventually gets him through the smoke.
Not a lot of util for NIP to work with. Flash over the top. Hampers is looking for another pick to come through from the Coffin's angle.
He sprays manically against niko. Eventually will find that kill. foozy actually steals it away from the CT cross. That smoke is finally cleared. And now Hunter and Jack stand alone. One player at the Shire, one player at Dark. Dark has been tagged to 60 HP. One smoke down in from this banana control. And Hunter will strike back on the first player. Hampers and foozy working in, and Hunter makes it a double. On for the triple. Once again, a multi-frag round for him. Continuing his performance from Vertigo all the way into Inferno.
And we're looking at Vertigo here. We're looking at Inferno. Another beauty of a round coming through from Hunter, because he really had to deliver there. You can see the way that Jax is uncomfortable in that dark position. Doesn't have a lot of room to work with, but Hunter being able to utilize that space in the grill position, ends up with a triple and just uses that bait of his teammate to pull the attention over. What a force buy back, and just the utility usage to even deal with the anchors on the side before the bomb went down.
Think how quick this responsive has been from G2 as well. NIP with a confident pistol. G2 stormed the site. Yes, they did lose 3 players, but they have put NIP back down to the pistols themselves in their own force buy for round 3. And what could have been a great start to get the first 3 rounds to establish the basis of a CT side will now go back and forth, or at least NIP will look to make it so.
Yeah, G2 thinking about prodding their way forward into a brackets take. Trying to get some of that util forward to force the A players back further into the bomb site. Hunter taking some spam damage down from that P250, and Rez is spotting absolutely no one in brackets aggressive.
Him and Atatag thinking of the peaks in, but not seeing anything of the T side yet. Instead, it's back towards Banana, onto that B site where it's only Plopsky to hold this time. And again, just as passive back at the CT cross.
Yeah, all the presence is down here on A. So if there's any way that NIP is able to cook up something special, it's driving G2 into that stack play. A lot of entities in and around brackets control.
45 seconds remaining. Timothy thrown over with a flashbang, turned away from by Rez. Stop from Alexi B. Does come up with a kill alongside Jax. That's a tag with a decent responsive on Hunter. With a 2-for-1 trade. And no more coming out from the Deagle itself. Plopsky on rotation. Can't get to site. Can't deny the bomb plant. And most certainly can't get a retake here.
Simplicity is how I completely look at that round there from G2. Using the util down towards that long position. Working off one another. Trading very well in and around that brackets position. And just making sure they're not getting crumbled by a porch setup. Or someone aggressing through the long smoke. Or anything cheeky in with those 3 players that were playing up on A. Only Hunter's the one to fall. Damage being taken by Jax, Monacy, Alexi, and not a massive amount. Plopsky's only option is really try and hold on to this pistol and bring some upgrade into the next. But for G2, what a response this has been since losing the pistol.
Now 2 on the trot. Confidence gain to the force buy back. And now with the rifles held in from the next round. NIP got to rest with the Kevlar from Plopsky really is the main basis for the next buy. They forced the issue here, so this will be a follow-up eco round. A little bit of bonus firepower, sure, but shouldn't be a round victory for them. If they manage to pull it off, then fair play. But in the grand scale of things, this should be G2 with their 3 to start.
Now, typically I wouldn't say this, Jay, but I honestly believe that this map for NIP could be won or lost in the first half. And the reason for that is, let's just think about what could happen in the second. Weak T sides that we've seen from NIP recently, and dominant CT sides on Inferno for G2. So if NIP want to keep themselves in this game and really maintain control, they have to be able to be the force of nature in this first half.
It's not the best of starts to get there, and it certainly won't be a turnaround round. USP's in for the full stack towards the B site, so G2 will work on their defaults. Mostly pressed in towards brackets. They'll take this control, press onto the A site eventually. Maybe contact plays from Alexi or Niko could catch the stack and then just force the rotation back for that bomb carrier again to go towards the A side. They're peeking in dry towards long though, so this shouldn't be a bit more of a formality here for G2.
Now, NIP are just hoping that one of these lurkers aggresses into the bomb site and they can charge down, they can recover a rifle. There's going to be no way of being able to trap that bomb. And look at the control that's even being found by Hunter, slipping in towards CT spawn.
Yeah, backs are turned as well. They'll spot that one player who didn't see him in return, so now just a case of looking for a useful angle. Spray through, a little bit of ride. Spray towards Rez will eventually transfer on towards Plopsky. foozy with a responsive, and now they should be aware of what's going on here. They might lose that one rifle. See, Niko might be ready to clean it back up. That bomb should commit towards the A side though, and again, it's a formality for G2.
Yeah, I don't know if this rifle's going to get saved in. With the information that Niko's still up here in the half wall, they could think about, especially once the bomb gets down, okay, let's put some emphasis forward on making sure that that rifle does not stay in play.
Could be worth the hunt here. Niko's not moving as of right now, though. Tagged to 50 HP earlier on in the round. Might need that backup to come to him if they want to commit towards the hunt, but the rest of G2 are happy to sit on the back of the A site, hold down the site itself, and just win the round by keeping their weapons in. It's a bit of a hard loss, though. That's an AK now for the CT side.
And when we think about some of the Inferno games that have been played by G2 so far in the Pro League, a 16-12 result against LFO and a 16-14 against fnatic. Now, in that game, they were up 14-6 and ended up closing it out 16-14. So there could be discussion at a certain point here on Inferno if the replication is going to be coming through on G2 struggling to close and maybe having difficulty getting just over that final hurdle. But at least from what we've seen in map 1, I don't think it's a discussion for now.
We might entertain that towards the end, later part of the matchup, maybe towards the end. For now, though, bases have been established. Again, pistol gained by NIP, conversions and turnarounds gained by G2. Now the gun should be brought back into play for the Ninjas. Indeed, the M4s, the AK, the FAMAS out for Plopsky. Not the best to buy, but it is a buy.
Now, NIP are desperate for an opening man advantage. Util usage down towards that bottom of banana position is burning Alexi right down to 13 points of health. That is a very good util placement, and now they're even taking banana control because of it.
Slight gap in that smoke, I think, for Esatag. He could use that if niko starts to overextend. They'll re-smoke it and cover that off. The return HE that came from that T side line has not done as much on Plopsky and Esatag as they would have hoped. Certainly not as much as Alexi was taken. Oh, niko got Kushed or dinked down to 3 points of HP. So the damage continues pouring in for NIP.
Yeah, G2 haven't even been able to put themselves in a stance of retaking some of this banana control. They've been hammered by the util and the spam down through that smoke. Esatag still holding slightly aggressive. And m0NESY is going to be the first one to fall just on the edge of that mid position towards A.
And still with those 2 low HP players in play, NIP have found an all-important frag. One that could turn the entire round to their favor. Depends how G2 play this out and how much impact Hunter and Jax can get here. Hunter's playing out to the apartment, going to pass that AWP off towards niko, take the AK back instead. Try playing towards mid.
Well, realistically, they need a playmaker in this sort of round, and it's got to be either Hunter or Jax to create space, to find impact on the bomb side. Starting to put some of that util down towards Moto, and Long is indicating presence towards A. Instead, it's a fake, and they want to try and bring the troops into B.
50 seconds, and Jax will try to lead the charge. You see the comms coming in from those guys. Preparing for an execution, whatever they can muster here. Smokes down from Spray. Plopsky not quite that fantastic. The AK breath attack though, good for 2, not quite for 3. Fuzi's at least able to trade Hunter through the smoke, and niko will just sneak the bomb plant in here with a 1v4 and 3 points of HP. He won't last long, not even against Fuzi, the first man into the site. AWP saved in, second round for the Ninjas. At least there's a bomb plant bonus, but G2 had cash anyway.
Yeah, fair play to the B-side anchors, being able to get a lot of damage forward. When you think that you've already got a couple of players low HP on the T side that are trying to entry forward, Jax and Hunter, they're thinking to themselves, okay, we need maybe 2 kills, we need to not take any casualties getting into this bomb side, and they kind of just go back and forth with the trades, which doesn't help the G2 side at all. At least they get the bomb down. There's that extra little cash injection just before Fuzi aggressed through that city smoke to deny that last kill. It gives NIP that second, and a full buy coming through.
Couple of AK saved in. Extra firepower for the Ninjas in particular. G2 will be able to afford the full buy back in. Not a lot of cash in reserve. Not like they'll need it for now. niko's already found Plopsky kicking things off on the right foot in a banana. Nades back, not quite catching in, but Fuzi tanks one to the face. 71 points of HP. There is a little bit of damage being returned on the G2 side. Jackson Hunter in particular. Back to 65 and 87 with niko, the early face in against him. Trade potential for NIP, but they're down by a player for now.
Yeah, I love that adjustment, though, from the call of Alexi B. Notice the way that they took, or didn't take banana in the previous round. They sort of let it come to NIP. That time around, niko just aggresses through the molly and plays close up towards the half-wall, catching Plopsky completely off guard.
Walk forward with Fuzi and the Molotov in. Great shot as well for the man. Not quite a connection to the second. The leg shot will come down. Esatag will lead in against niko instead. Not capitalizing on the easy kill and overextending to lose his own life. A 4v2 now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because that would have been commed over. He's low, swing for the pick to bring it back into the 3v3. What they don't know is the AWP is posted, and also, they don't know the Hampers is here.
Straight through, catches one, swing on a second, and everything gets Hunter to return. Rez with a decent tap to the head, and the bomb being dropped in his presence. A 1v1. Alexi on 16 points of HP has got to play the patient game. Rez adjusting to pit. over at the broken wall. Eyes set to the site, trying to look in from short. 22 the clock. And the lead is going to spot Alexi, take the kill shot and take the clutch to win the round for NIP. 3 apiece.
And both players really stepping up there. Hampus out from the graveyard angle, knows he has to really step up big time if they want to try and change the narrative. He ends up getting a couple of kills, and then Rez sets himself up to be deep in the pit, late round to deal with that individual up there at that long position just outside of library. Very well achieved from NIP. Some of these rounds being quite close to the marker. They've tied it up at 3 apiece.
Force back in will come through from G2, a little bit broken on their own account. Again, early utility damage coming in for the NIP side, but it's Hunter that opens up the kill counts. Hampus dead, and that follow-up HE not as effective here for NIP.
Yeah, surprised about the over-aggressive duels that NIP are taking in the early round. We saw it previously from Plopsky towards the top of Banana. This time around, it's Hampus trying to get right into bedroom to look into second mid.
He leans in, almost lands on the collateral right there. A tag shot on Jax at the very least. The USP could be enough, but Essa taggers the M4 to lock it down for certain. And just like that, the man advantage tips the favor of NIP, but only for a brief moment. Hunter again able to respond and draw all attention in towards the A site. They can't get the bomb out this corner though. Munacy has got to stand and fight, and he only goes so far with it again. Plopsky and Rez trading him, and Hunter and Niko alone to clutch. At least finds that first, but now Molotovs and Passiveness coming in from NIP will try lock down the round from here.
Niko trying to come into his own, 1v2, separate the CTs, try and deal with his MP9 first. Knows that he's around second mid somewhere, but even for Plopsky, he's just further backing off and getting further away from the action.
Rotations in from Niko, will try press into the apartments, might counter flank on Plopsky. He's going to rejoin his teammate. They're not watching that bomb directly, I don't think. They'll start to peek in and realize it's still there. It's a case of checking that backline position. I think he just evaded that Voiler player. They might think Apps is completely clear. How much noise does Niko make here? 20 seconds. He might have to make quite a fair amount of it. Being silent. Oh, he's made noise now. That's it. Round's done. Swing on Rez. Headshot to connect. And NIP take the lead again.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Trying to go with a silent drop down from that hay position. Just not quite getting that last movement onto the floor. And as soon as that sound cue comes up, your ears are up. You're spinning around. You're focusing your attention up onto the short side. And for NIP, just notice the trading game that comes through and the backup support at long. Fuzi with that AWP gets a 2-for-1 in the sense that he gets the first kill, a lot of damage onto the second, and with his teammate there in support, it meant that G2 could just not keep fighting, and then even the bomb gets trapped from Monacy.
Well, that was really the round-winning moment there for NIP. Only gave it credit on the clutch because of Niko's abilities, but one mistake led to his demise, and now G2 are down to pistols here in round 8. Hunter Tech 9, falls forward against Fuzi, wins out the fight against the man. Foxy's there out Banana. We get the trade back on Alexi through the smoke, but now a flank angle taken with an M4 picked up. Hunter could still work with this.
Hey, this is promising. With armor to work with, he can get into library, try and cut some of the rotates, recover that bomb down towards the bottom of B. And Monacy expecting a walk up, an aggressive play towards the top of Porch, and just try to see if they can engage another fight here.
Open over at Moto, so there's a chance that they could engage against Hunter. He gets the kill for his trouble, then that would be disastrous for NIP. Only 2 players to find on the A site. The other 2 will be slow to rotate. They are thinking about finding better angles, more passive on that B site position. They are hoping that Hunter overextends. He tries to go back into that B site and give up the ghost here to the Ninja side.
There's got to be a play into A, not taking any of this banana control. You've got Hunter trying to fight those rotates, but no one's really rotating off a B right now.
Hampus and Rez finding their angles, checking both entryways. Monacy now spotted by Hampus. That should give the ghost up on what's going on here with this play. Can't get a kill for it, and they won't commit to a full-on rotation. Monacy gonna abuse that CT smoke down to the apartments. Try drop in from the Keo position. Jax gets caught for it. Monacy able to get a couple of deagle shots in, though. Go back for that bomb and get it planted. 2v2. Concern will be HP and the Kevlar lacking there for. Niko still gets dealt with Monacy in the 1 versus 2. Deagle pulled out, spots them both, desperate to tap onto their heads. Needs to hit his shots perfectly, but it's not perfect for him. Plopsky closes the round. NIP will take damage with their 5th.
Overall, though, you'd have to say wonderful eco coming through from G2. Not a lot of investment into that round. You're right, though. As soon as that smoke comes down from the pit player of Hampus up to the apartments to try and stall any apps pop or apps presence, it almost gives a way of safety and a way over for m0NESY to get up onto Keo from that porch boost, continue to walk forward, get a couple of kills, get the bomb down into the side. Yeah, they don't actually turn that 2v2 into anything more. It's still damage being done.
That's the key thing, right? We talked about it during the start of Vertigo, the economy game. The first 10 rounds, that's the big thing you're playing for here, and G2 have managed NIP's money state pretty well so far. Opening kills coming in once again for m0NESY as he takes down Rez. If they find a round out here, they could reset the ninjas.
Rez doesn't even want to take a fight there. All he wants to do is have a good spot to put an incendiary down towards the Mexi angle, and he just can't even get it. Beaten to the marker, m0NESY with that AWP striking off, and Plopsky's known towards logs now.
Gonna get a decent tag off from niko though, 48 HP. He's working from SSI, gonna try throw the information game off for G2, making a bit of noise though, trying to indicate that there's a player rotating back, but two more commit on the defensive here. They do lose foozy on the A side though, and he's the only player standing up. Hunter's found a line in, so the bomb's gonna commit. This should be round over.
And that is the worst outcome for an in-game leader, is when you take 3 players on dominating Banana, taking the map control away, trying to slow it down for G2, and your A player of Rez gets picked off by the AWP almost instantly in the round, and then your last A player of Fuzi gets caught off by Hunter. You just have to save. There's nothing that you can do here for the Swedes.
It all came down to that one individual on the A site. That's all you can really say against the man, and well, just hold on to your rifles from here. G2 will take 4. And with the money state of NIP, this makes a lot of sense, right? There's no cash. That for 3 players in particular, they're less than $1,000. Tag and Fuzi will be the higher rollers, but then you consider as well the lack of loss bonus that NIP have built up. It's going to be a very rough buy-in from them.
I don't even know how much we can entertain it with just the money line. You even think about that kill coming through from Library. NIP have got no idea, is City Spawn compromised? We're not in rotating position. So even if the money was flourished and there was heaps of funds to work with, this is still a round that NIP probably would not have got at. Just with the positioning that came through, the way the pick came so deep on the edge of that A side. And G2 know the importance now about following up, getting a couple of rounds in a row, and really targeting the reset on the economy game.
Follow that harsh reset, go to eco in the next round. Should be seeing the force buy in from NIP here. Indeed we will, getting most of the main rifles out, 2 AK saved. Of course, M4's pop back and forth, and then FAMAS for Fuzi be the weaker element. Again, going to try and go for the mid-peak. Not that awful to worry about in m0NESY. He'll try and play in towards Banana instead. Nades and Molotov down against Plopsky, already tagged to almost half. Counter Nades will try come in, and niko and Alexi will take some damage for it. Down to 27 again for Alexi. Nade to his position. Doesn't quite land the kill shot. Plopsky will try and look for it regardless. Aggressive ahead of the smoke. Spots niko, sprays. Transfers to m0NESY blind and almost gets him the same.
Yeah, Plopsky even thinking about a reface, trying to hug that wall, get over towards the corner of the smoke and fight again.
He will get Alexi for his trouble. The incendiary is forcing him to back out of Banana. Had he stuck around, he would have been a dead man. And even Jack's tanking some damage as well. It's all going up right here for NIP.
You'd have to think, for G2's standpoint, taking Banana without losing casualties is a difficult factor for them right now. Molly goes out towards the sandbags, try and draw some of those positions out to the open. Jax really decimating to try and get a fight forward. Deals with Tag. Plopsky's fallen back, low on HP, but has still been alive.
Needs that backup to come in though. Fuzi with the lack of firepower. Jackson the numbers on HP line. Plopsky and Neo's quick step 3. Fire it. Swing on m0NESY. Make it a quadra. Try to get his own ace here in this matchup. But it's Fuzi to seal it away instead. FAMAS out ahead of the site. Had the high HP. Plopsky didn't need to peek. And NIP will defend the lead.
NIP are doing a sensational job on maintaining Banana control, putting their nades down, chunking damage, and playing with confidence too. Just look at that from Plopsky. He's able to do so much damage in the first 30-odd seconds of the round, and then even when they've got a 5-on-4 and they know that Alexi's still down there towards logs or hugging that left-hand side, he's just refacing, just constantly looking for fights.
All important 6 for NIP defending themselves. G2 couldn't get that reset in. Take a moment's respite before jumping into the next one. It's been a much more competitive affair in the early part of the map up, Dweg.
And this is what we're hoping for in a series like this, is it's not just a bombardment of a 2-0 and NIP's hopes and dreams of having a complete clean sheet of that 5-0 record come through going into the playoffs. G2, on the other hand, will feel as if they haven't gotten off to the best of starts here on T side, the difference being 2 right now.
One AK saved in for the Ninjas. The default set is Esatag walks up to Banana, tanks some damage of 58 points of HP to a HE, the G2 side. But will hold this map control and not be challenged directly by them.
I just noticed, rather than fighting Banana, they're taking quick apartments control, getting players into that boiler position, giving that indication forward of Rez, who's going to re-smoke down towards the brackets in case of any pop. The G2 can think about retaking some of the Banana control back later into the round. This AWP from Fuzi playing up on the short side.
Smokes down, suppress one individual. The AWP of Fuzi will get flashed off. Instead, it's Rez to line up those 2 kills on Jackson. Alexi try to look for the triple. That's what he gets, even the quadra against Munacy. And the whole round falls down for G2. niko in a 1v4, and they're hunting for the kill as well.
We're getting glimpses out of what these individuals can post up. Plopsky in that last round with 4. Now Rez with 4 himself. NIP, players are stepping up for them.
You know, wonderful stuff. Looking for this CT half victory. You mentioned how important it would be for them. It felt a little bit iffy at the start. It's Rez to close down that ace. The second ace of the matchup going the way of NIP this time. What a hell of a defensive he had.
Yeah, nice smile there for Rez, and he deserves it. That was a very clinical brackets take for G2. They put the long smoke down, they flash over the top, they force the AWP away. The only player they don't is the one down there on Porch. Rez with the swing out, not getting mollied. So much damage in from him. He gets up to 12 kills and just 6 deaths. And for NIP, their main target has got to be trying to get double digits in this first half.
10-5, very workable for them, and they get things started on the right foot for round 12. Boozy picking up Jax. And Alexi trying to trade back in Banana. Not quite as accurate as that AWPA was. Losing one teammate and falling away towards that mid position. Plopsky will start to lean ahead of the incendiaries. The smokes coming down at Banana. Will spot Alexi above the woods. That get a tag off, but take a kill to return.
Yeah, buying quite heavy down with a couple of these players. Alexi in particular. Want to get as much out of this round as possible. Try and beat some of those rotations. Hampus coming out from spawn. Esatag going to be here to try and put the smoke in.
Smokes up. Pressure involved. Hampus looking to lean in. If they find that boost at the right time, then that could lead to his demise. Oh, didn't spot Munacy either. Fortunately, Munacy didn't take the shot. 60 seconds left in the round. And this bomb is starting to rotate away from Banana here. They might try and rotate to the A side. There's 2 players leaning in from mid now.
And niko actually ran forward and jumped to try and pull Hampus into the open to allow that boost up into sandbags to work out successfully. You're right about the splitness. This is trying to maybe characterize an A-set play to over-rotate one of the B players away.
Depends if they want to bite the bait. Incendiaries come down. There will be a rotation back, so it rests mostly on Esatag to try and hold defense. That bomb will get picked up. Hunter is lurking in from long, but as he gets picked up by Fuzi, that should call in the info. Is the rotation going to be quick enough back here for NIP? 20 seconds. Alexi spotted by Esatag, gets his kill, and now they will get that second player in with an incendiary down at the right moment. Hampus will fall. Time still ticking. Now Esatag got to look up high towards that boost. niko can overwhelm. A 2v2. The bomb's getting planted. The retake is on for NIP, or is it? Big gap. Shot doesn't connect. Munacy trades it, and now it's Rez to clutch.
Now everything coming together. We've seen what Rez has been able to do only a few rounds ago. Now he's got to step up again. He's got a kit to work with, so the time's a factor.
It begins slowly. Munacy's back turned, but covered off by the coffins. niko out towards the new box, and Munacy spots his man. Rez tanking the damage, looking for the headshot desperately, but Munacy says, no, I want a double kill. That's exactly what I'll get. A 5th round for G2 as well.
Jeez, that really did not look likely that was going to happen from G2. With the mindset of selling the fake, they pull Hampus over. Unfortunately, they lose Hunter in the exchange on the Arch duel, and Esatag gets pressured. niko getting up high with that deagle over the top of the first oranges, dealing with Hampus first on rotation, then onto Esatag, and as soon as it gets into that 2v2 position, when you've got rifles in play, notice how immediately Munacy's looking for another frag, because he doesn't have any armor in that one. He knows the only way to successfully deal with this post plant is to continue fighting, and that's exactly what he did.
G2 gaining an unlikely scenario to their favor. Now a tactical timeout will get called in by NIP. Still one away from winning the half. Still having 10 rounds on the table if they can get this flawlessly from here. Gunbuy will not feature any AWPs for them, though. Lack ahead, Kevlar, and a couple limitations on utility sets. And only one kit as well for Fuzi. It's not the best setup for NIP, but it's still at least a rifle buy.
I'm worried about the incendiaries, Jay. Just think about how many of them have been used previously to take some of this banana control. G2 are going to know that the economy is not quite as high as it once was for the Swedes. Taking banana might not be as easy, and look at the protocol. NIP at B, they're playing it passive.
Only one incendiary thrown down by G2 instead. Fuzi. Boost up race to look over the smoke in at mid. Monacy is ready for it. Gets the opener.
Exactly what they're looking for in a round like this. And while that's all happening, Hunter has been able to slowly maneuver his way forward into the A side. Try and catch them off guard, and Hampers almost falling to the AWPer. They do a lot of damage onto Monacy.
NHP, Hunter now sneaks in from Boiler, and Fuzi's ready for him. So 4v4 is eventually gained. NIP hold their control. And G2 forced to rotate into an open and free banana.
Now, that's an important response coming through from Fuzi, backing away up onto the short position to get into the A side of dealing with that lurk, making sure that Hunter's not able to over-rotate them or mind-game them at all. Niko's going to put a smoke down over towards lurk at B, but the rest of the players are regaining mid to lean over to A.
Walking in slowly and carefully, Hampus hoping he catches some information here in the bedroom. M4 just waits for it. Anyone extends out to apartments, that's his prey. There's no one on the A site directly here. He could find the flank angle, but Niko's caught him instead. Headshot gain, Fuzi. No angle to fire back. 3 of the archers hold on to his M4, fall back into the B site. All 3 players calling in the save.
What an important clearance that is coming through from Niko. And he's the one with the bomb too, just clearing out all of those angles into the apartments in case anyone's aggressive. Because that whole play there for NIP is, okay, let's leave Hampus aggressive in bedroom. He's going to hear some of those rotates and the util being pulled from the mid players into A. Except, oh, hang on a minute, it's a contact. We're not seeing the moto smoke. We're not seeing the long smoke and the molly out for Porch. It's silent, and that's what catches them off guard completely.
That's the double digits denied by for NIP as well. G2 with their 6th. Winning max rounds of 9 at the turn of the half at NIP, and they might not even get that far. Again, the economy state pretty dire for them. 3 weapons saved. I think they'll have $1,900 in the bank accounts. I think that's where the loss bonus was at here. Let's have a look. Yeah. If they lose any weapons, that's going to be all important. Fortunately, Tag stays alive. But in this scenario, do you think they buy?
Oh, that's a tough call, isn't it? Because you've got 3 rifles saved in, so you can force it down, get a couple of MP9s out of there. But you also have the other mindset of, do we just play 3 M4s, USP? I think in this sort of situation, lower the risk factor. Get those USPs out to back up the M4s, and then buy in the next round.
That's what they'll do. USPs. No investment, $200 gained by Fuzi, I think, to buy a flashbang. That's it, though. Very little in this round. And I mean, G2 did pull off a round like this in the previous map-up, so maybe NIP could try to channel that inner tenacity. Dish out the damage early on. They've lost the first pistol. It's Hampus that's fallen. In the apartments, Jack spotting the second pistol as well. Rez to get out of dodge. Boosted to cover it off.
Don't know what's happening with the Zeus here. He wants to get rid of that. Put a HE down out to that graveyard position. Try and force another fight. Fuzi dealing with Jax. They might want to get aggressive into the apartments to see if they can recover that weapon.
Hunter putting a Molotov down and indicate he's still here in the apartments. Meanwhile, over towards the B side, Tag is standing alone against the other 3 G2 players. Hunter just lurking out this position. That bomb is considering a rotate here. It depends how well this duel goes. If they get Tag, they storm the B site. And Alexi and Niko will peek together. Will they line up for the M4? Is his placement correct? Is there any flash to support it? Gun barrel seen. That's a bait and switch. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully called. Then that should be round.
That's textbook, isn't it? And even Hunter's going to try and cut the rotates, keep it more expensive. And that's the last thing that NIP want. You either want to get as much damage out of the round as possible or keep those rifles alive. They've held on to 2, so they've only lost 1 for the moment.
Won't be able to get a third one back, of course. Nice they can grab the AK up towards top mid, but I doubt they will be able to do so. Might not even attempt to do so. Rez is pushing forward towards T apartments, but he will find a corner, as will Fuzi. And this will be 7-all. G2 will make this as close a half as they possibly can.
Yeah, they're narrowing down on the victory now. Putting on a good performance on T side for G2 is going to be everything for them going into the second half. And for NIP, you could just see the bait, right? The way that the slide gun barrel is being seen by niko. And as soon as that overextension comes through, Alexi's ready for it. Both players on the money towards that B site play. 7-7. It really had that expectation of 10, 11 possible rounds for NIP. We're not even in that conversation anymore.
Yeah, we're looking towards double digits as being the main sort of goal for NIP in this one. That goal is not going to be realized at all for them. The best that they can do is that 8th. And again, the question crops up, is that going to be enough with how dire the T-sides have looked on Inferno in the past for this team? This is almost a must-win round. Even that, well, his questions applied. Incendiary's out, Molotov's down, Plopsky just jumped facing to look for contact. Won't be able to see anything. It's G2 that gained banana control.
And niko getting flashed over, pressure building. They might try and refight this. Plopsky over aggressive, gets dealt with by niko. And now for Esatag, he's got to buy some time to allow that rotation from Fuzi.
Yeah, evaded the flash entirely, was not blind. The kill comes in easy. He follows up through the smoke on Esatag and all. Step the CT cross down the Orpa of Fuzi with everything to do. G2 is storming his B site. niko's leading the charge. Finally, a decent shot comes back as he leans further forward. Hampus will fall towards the 8th site. Alexi cleans up the Orpa, and the M4 is in a 1v4, which he just cannot win. Jacks to close it out. 8-7 at the turn of the half. G2 might not have held the confidence start that they did over on Vertigo, but at least they still have a half advantage, a round advantage going into the second after the break.
I guess what we have been going through on Mirage was, it's tough to explain because, like, they were smashing us in the first half. Like, we were like, you lose first map and then they smash you first half of second map, and then we somehow bounce back and we make the comeback, and then like I felt like we were in charge. We were in the lead throughout a couple of overtimes. We were the ones saving match points, but we just kind of threw away every single one of them. So it sucks that we couldn't close out the Mirage after such a comeback. Like, they did a comeback on Inferno, but they managed to close it out, right? We did a comeback on Mirage, but we just didn't manage to close it out. So it's unfortunate now those maps we could have closed out, because one thing that is missing in these like moments is the coach, right? I mean, it's very hard to close out the map. Like, you have the coach behind who has bigger picture, because he's not really tunnel visioned. He's not under too much pressure in the game, you know. He sees a just bigger picture, so he can make a right call to close out the round, or just to calm you down, you know. I mean, we were kind of calm, but we just couldn't find a solution on how to close the maps out, I would say. So the feeling was intense throughout the whole final, because it was always back and forth, close rounds, and it was very nice experience to play, but it sucks that we couldn't win a map at least, because I think if we would have won one map, I think we would have won one more at least, and then potentially the 5th map could have been the decider.
8-7 at the turn of the half, a far better half from NIP by comparison to how things played out over on Vertigo. But as we transition to the second half, it's the T side that becomes the next big concern for the Ninjas here, Dwayne. What confidence do we have in this side to be able to pull this off?
Well, they had confidence in their third game that we saw against Mousesports. A good T side there, but in the last head-to-head against G2, 5 T rounds was all that we saw by NIP. So it starts with a pistol, and it starts with the bait and switch. niko trying to draw the attention away from m0NESY.
We tried this in the previous half there in that last round. NIP pulled the bait and switch, G2 pulled the bait and switch against NIP when they were on the T side. Harvest Hunter to kick things off out on the other side of the map. m0NESY at least one decent kill. Alexi falls back into the back of B. This is a 3v3 for the time being. He stands alone, but Jax is coming in for the backstab. That bomb's going to try and commit. Alexi, what can you do from this position? It's finding an engagement for Jax to land another great headshot for him in the pistol basis. Plopsky also falls, and it's Fuzi. Now he's the man alone. A 1 versus 3 scenario with the bomb being dropped in the back lines of that B side, and surely the next peak will be his last.
Yeah, simplicity done right there for G2 again. The way that they contact off one another towards the top of Banana, and once they've got that mid-aggression, Alexi's just not peeking. Knows he has to stay alive out from the new box because Jax has got the wrap, and Fuzi's now the last one that gets peeked in by Jax. A great wraparound play coming in, and with Alexi not peeking, it just didn't give any advantages forward for NIP on that side take into B.
Great start for G2. Lockout defensive, a backstab that worked so wonderfully. Again, they've rehearsed this, they've practiced this, they're coming to this series prepared. They forced out a very early tactical pause from NIP in the second half.
I don't mind this at all for NIP, just knowing, okay, didn't get a bomb down. What do we want to try and set up? Do we go in for one of these force investments? We saw it for G2 when we think back to even the start of Inferno, losing the pistol, but then getting the hero rifle out onto someone like niko. Yes, that was a bomb plant, so it's a slightly different protocol that's in place, but take the tactical, mentally reset, and just realize the options that they've got in front of them. Either a complete Glock round and a light eco, or the force invest are the two options they can go for.
Let's see which option they decide to pick. Whether or not that'll be successful for them, whether or not it will have any major impact. G2, the ones currently in full control of this half of this map, this series thus far. It will just be the straight Glocks out for NIP. Want to go for those early guns.
Try and just see if they don't get farmed in a round like this, right? 3 MP9s out for the CT side. You don't really want to be giving as much of that kill bonus over to them as possible. And m0NESY with the scout just jiggling up into the angle, looking into brackets. NIP, players all over.
Hunter pressing forward ahead of the flower beds. Flashed in towards brackets itself. Will not quite find contact against the NIP side there. Pretty well hidden as of right now.
Try and hold on to the util as well, you'd have to imagine, for G2. Don't want to be using all of it down up against the anti-eco. NIP thinking about bomb rushing outside of this boiler position. m0NESY's going to be the first one on contact, and at least the one to gather the information to comment over.
A dodge for the scout player leaning in towards the apartment's entrance. Back out towards long just in case. It's NIP that start their positions. Start their move in from brackets. Scout shot does connect towards the first. Eventually get the kill towards Rez and tap forward on Hampus as well. Beautiful. The money shot, if you will. And looking for a triple and all here against Fuzi. The bomb should be dropped pretty effectively. A scout no scope even lands. What a round that was. An eco rush that went fully the way of the G2 side.
A young man showing up in a very good position, just making sure that any of those entrances forward into Arch, into CT, is going to be damaging full. The scout coming through with some connections, the P250 as well, and NIP focusing their full attention now into the rifle round. Double digits and a 10th gained by G2. If they can continue this momentum and this roll, this could be them getting closer towards the magic marker of 16.
As of right now, they're 3 in the lead. That scout and m0NESY is looking for a bit more against these rifles. If he lands any kills, it's going to be massive impact against the NIP side. The weakened weapon as well, part of the bonus buy for G2. No major investment coming in for them as of right now.
Plopsky getting slightly further aggressive to catch off m0NESY on an aggressive angle outside of the boiler, but he's fallen back into the bomb side. And G2 as a whole, I just have a look at the radar. No one directly on B, everyone on the back foot. They're giving a lot of respect to NIP gaining map control.
Those smokes down onto the long position and keep G2 at bay. A counter nade lands wonderfully on two individuals. A follow-up HG from Hunter as well. And Plopsky will sponge that. Fuzi not taking much more in turn. That's still 2 players, less than 60 now.
Yeah, 4 and A is a very good read here for G2, and even another HE is banged up here from Jack, so that can go forward into the short side when Alexi takes the contact.
All the case of timing is how much damage it does and whether it lands towards Fuzi and Plopsky. Smokes in to suppress for time though. G2 know that they've got the clock on their side. 40 seconds for the NIP hit.
They're starting to rotate away. They're getting the indication that there's something over towards B. That smoke has cancelled the A play, and niko's playing very up close with that MP9 while the support's coming through.
One player back out towards Coffins. Have they gone to B now? They would have only had to deal with Niko's scout. Oh, sorry, the scout and Modesty that does support the SMG. 20 seconds. Time's running short. Base in. Modesty takes a bit of a dink back. Molotov's into the backside. Niko still waiting. Should be known here. Checked by Plopsky. Spray still gets away with a decent kill, but both those CTs are over when the bomb goes down. And G2 a little bit hesitant to the retake, but I think they're going to commit to it.
They could just save here. 3v4. You don't really have a lot of players in good position, so could look for some exit kills, try and regroup, make it more expensive, look to buy up in the next. That was just a bonus round. You could just see the way that Monacy, without him finding a pick or at least a tag up with that scout, it meant that that bait and switch on the crossfire with Niko in the first oranges was so much more difficult to work with.
There's an IP with their bite back. Again, G2 with a bonus round, so just damage is what they can really take away from this. The damage being done towards Plopsky, reinvestment can come through. NIP, a little bit limited on the cash funds. They exhausted all the utilities, so they've got to rebuy into that as well. There should also be a full buy back in from the CT side.
Yes, definitely so. Get that buy back up. NIP, good entries out towards that banana position, and even for G2's standpoint, the fact that they put a bracket smoke back through, they get Alexi slightly further aggressive on the porch and don't see anything, they don't rotate enough over to the B side. So maybe that information that we saw wasn't quite gathered into the same extent, because it looked as if a third player on rotation was going to go there to B, but it ended up just being one of Monacy to back up Niko.
One of those players that are on the rifles for this next round. The M4's brought down. Still the 2 SMGs rocked by Hunter and Alexi. Respect it, get as much value out of these SMGs as possible, and if they can get damage on NIP, again, it limits the economy stay. Already using a ton of util to try and gain banana control from the T side. Then Alexi just rushes down Hampus with the SMG. Finds the frag, doesn't get the AK for it. Jumps in against Rez, who now reveals his position. Takes a lot of damage alongside Fuzi down to 58. G2 are playing this wonderfully again.
Yeah, Rez is lucky to get out of that logs position alive. Now the factor is, what can he actually do? Because if they just flash high over the top and continue to swing, surely he gets a 1-for-1 at absolute most.
Rotations are considered here by the NIP side. Utility being set up. That bomb is currently up top mid. Hunter waiting. Flash forward. Alexi caught off by Plopsky. So 4 versus 4. Niko behind the sandbags will not spot anybody else. They rotate for the A hit, it seems.
Even though that pick comes through as a response, it doesn't break away the setup. 3 players up onto A, and NIP are running into the trap.
Smoke ahead of Hunter. I don't even think it landed, actually. He gets away with the kill on towards Rez, face on the second man, and drops in the same. Fuzi needs to double up, and he only gets 1 frag. Essa tag now, the bomb being dropped in over at Brackets. Not aware of the player off, and Keo gets Jax at the very least, adjusting towards the man, but can't transfer to Monacy, so it will be 11 rounds now for G2.
And just think about the setup there for the B players. The way that you've got an individual hugging the half wall, but then Niko behind on the sandbags, just kind of gives that indication that for NIP, okay, well, we've got a pick towards top banana, but they don't really know that we're falling away. They don't know that we're continuing to maintain the presence. Niko gets up on the sandbag, sees nothing more, and tells Alexi and the rest of the crew, stay on A, there's no more presence.
NIP can at least try climb back into the follow-up round. The AK is coming in across 4 players. But Deagle for Rez will be the limiter again, and a lack of utility once again has been plaguing NIP throughout the course, not only of the start of this half, but also the tail end of the last.
Now, we could be looking realistically at a 13-8 scoreline, so this round is so vital for NIP to come through with success. Alexi getting deep down towards that logs position. Hampus has been able to get to the edge of the apartments. He'd love to be able to deal with Monacy getting back into the side.
Rotation's a bit of a crack angle held by that rifle when Apps is spotted. He doesn't get away with a decent tag on Hunter. Honestly, forced to adjust himself temporarily. Could have been a chance of action for NIP had they had full brackets control, but they didn't. That one will get picked up in the 2 CTs. Up at Banana will start the rotations. Essa tag caught in the shoulder. Monacy somehow stays alive against Plopsky. Can't hit that second shot and won't get a chance at the third. A trade finally found at a 4 versus 4. And they have their heart set towards the A site as they continue to push in. Jax backed up over at the pit position. The smoke goes down. The engagement comes in. The damage has been done as well. Meanwhile, Hunter on the site holds on to a kill. Jax makes it a double. And Red's now spotted out with the AWP. A 1v4 clutch. Gets that first pick. Can't see that second player. Knows he's somewhere on the site. But where is the big question? He can't find the angle. And he most certainly won't find the kill. Hunter catches him looking the wrong way. It's 12 for G2. And we could be looking at that worst case 13-8.
And what sucks there for NIP is they do such a good job of making sure Monacy only gets 1 pick. They put him in a position because he gets so aggressive that realistically, you're not going to find a second there. You'd have to hit a wild shot when you get there at Porch on that pillar position. So while they've traded the AWPer 1 for 1, what about the players on the bomb site? Hunter and Jax being deep in pit and on the site respectively. They do such a grand job.
The pistols pulled out for NIP. No force buy back into this round. Nades to do some damage to the likes of Rez. Minimal being done though. Not like it matters in the first place. Not a lot of resistance that NIP can post up here. The pistols with lack ahead Kevlar. Get a couple of tags on Alexi B. He's alive at 22 HP.
And now even the take out to brackets, gonna get denied too. niko spamming through the bottom of that banana smoke. Him and Alexi doing work. And now G2 is starting to maintain the progression of taking banana and continuing to put damage up. NIP, you got 1 Deagle and a P250 with the last couple of players. Don't have much to work with here.
The burst fire of niko down into that banana smoke. Top of the broken wall now. Spot spray, kill found on 2 and 3. Easy mop up for the quadra overall. There it is, 13-8 G2. Only a few rounds away from winning out this map and this match in a 2-0 fashion. And again, the statement that sends to everybody else about their group stage performance. Be massive for them. NIP have probably this one final chance, maybe a second one at the match point round.
Yeah.
It's going to be an awkward economy state. At least they have the bye. It's got to be do or die.
Yeah, you're at that situation now where it's last chance saloon. It's getting ever so close to it. Hunter, look at the aggression. Down from mid. Rez has got no idea. The M4's going to be out of strike, and he's even got a teammate of Monacy to peek with him.
Leg shot on Plopsky, caught off guard, jumping in the middle of the air. Jax at least makes a mistake against Essa tag, but Monacy able to close out against Plopsky. He's aware that Essa tag pressing forward. Hunter doing the exact same thing on the other side of the map. Ahead of Banana through the smokes. Fuzi caught Monacy, lightning fast reactions. Doesn't get the kill towards it. Will still look up towards top mid and connect that shot on Hampus instead. It's a lockdown round for G2 as Essa tag stands in the clutch, and surely he doesn't win this.
Players everywhere coming in from spawn, bottom of banana, out into the apartments. Essa tag is just hoping that he can isolate some of these individual duels. Alexi playing out from library catches him off, and similar characteristics to a lobby crunch on Nuke. The fact that players are just everywhere there. Hunter's running down from mid. You've got Monacy looking with the AWP up towards the apartment, and then even when you think, okay, that's just going to be it, the banana players start getting aggressive. G2 just continue fighting in that round.
Another tactical pause called in. NIP losing an all-important one. Their campaign could close out on a loss. Maybe they might not be getting that undefeated group run that they were hoping for. We obviously heard from Rez earlier on prior to the matchup and how excited he was to try and focus fire on that. Not worked out this way thus far, though. They still have one final chance to bring it back and deny the match point from G2. Still 6 rounds to make up. And they're going in half by. They're playing for overtime.
Oh, this is risky. Put yourself in a stance where the pressure really starts to build going into round 24. Pace might be the factor they need going into an eco round like this. An opening man advantage would be everything. It's not going to happen. Monacy with the AWP again.
Yeah, it's a side court. It's in the air. He's out towards that brackets position. Monacy still trying to look around the corner, ready for Hampus and co. All away for the time being. Fall back to passive.
Yeah, just play the numbers game. Very calculated here for G2. Don't need to continue to overface. Don't need to get hungry in the situation at all. And just know that you can keep refacing with that util down towards the top of banana position. NIP now starting to show some presence up to A.
Flashes ahead over at the short position. Not gaining full control for NIP, just prodding at the A site. About their true hit that might come through towards the B site instead. Bomb on the back of Plopsky. Niko and Alexi to defend.
Yeah, both B players have got smokes. That's just going to waste some further time. Goes down for Alexi. Another HE. How much chunk damage does this do? Oh, decent amount. Not bad at all.
Yeah, pretty fair against Plopsky in particular. G2 now looking just to lock down the defensive of the smoke start coming in for the T side line execution. Set, res, spotted and sprayed by Alexi B. Plopsky there with a decent trade back of his own. Hunter can get himself a triple and it will be a 15-8 for G2 now on map and match point on for the 2-0 against NIP. It's 7 rounds to OT.
And when we spoke when the game started, Jay, about the head-to-heads, 11 maps won to NIP, 16 for G2. When it comes to the cores, 5 best-of-3s going the way of G2, 4 for NIP. I don't think we've ever seen a best-of-3 with these kind of scorelines before. This has been so one-sided in favor of G2 this time around.
Again, a statement to make for this team. It might not be in the playoffs, but they're proving that they are of that caliber. m0NESY has started off against Fuzi. Frag. Rez will try and act out towards Banana, try and gain control of this part of the map.
You could just see in the second half how many opening man advantages G2 are finding. And m0NESY in particular, always aggressing down into a brackets peak. HE stack out towards a banana position. Not going to do a massive amount of damage, but it's chunks. It's all about adding the numbers up.
The pressure will continue. G2 want to try and waste as much time against NIP because, again, they just take all the advantages. Rez on the sandbags boost, can't see above the smoke, needs a teammate for that. Slight gap there for Alexi to work with. The jump face has now spotted him and Rez backs off.
That incendiary down, slow the play. Rotations are going to be slow. It's all going to come down to the anchors.
And they smoke it off. Alexi in a first cubby. Checked spawn by the boost spot angle, and indeed Plopsky gets a double up. Nice and effective. He takes a ton of damage on Rez and hampers. A nade back could take one of these players down. Onto Coffin. The attack that evades most of it. The spray through to Plopsky will not take the bomb carrier out of play. So it goes down successfully. And I think G2 want to save their weapons here. NIP will find an important survival round.
Information must not be relayed over just on how low those players are. But just know yourself, you've got so much money to work with just by next round. Give ourselves a better chance of closing this map, not getting into a circumstance where we were against fnatic a couple of days ago. We were up by a massive scoreline. We were up 14-6. We struggled to close. It ended up being 16-14 on Inferno. Think back to what happened against Entropic yesterday. They were up 14-7 on Dust 2, went to overtime and they lost it. They were up 13-8 on Nuke against Entropic and ended up losing that one as well. So just knowing this isn't our chance, we can still do some further damage, and Jax has even managed to get an AK.
Yeah, a great round from G2 in the post round at the very least. NIP got the round itself, but losing 2 more players. And again, you look back to that money line and think, ooh, might not be all that confident. We're seeing a Galil coming in from one individual. Another start for Plopsky.
Lovely.
Ray came in blind from the man. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was at the Shire or from the boost spot itself. It's a great sequence from him to burst into the site, and they're going to need more plays like that here in NIP.
Now, 3 players over towards Banana early round from G2, not looking to contest it straight away. Hampus just jiggling forward, getting smoked and flashed away. No real way that they can pop through this other than just a smoke and a charge forward.
Incendiary's down. Much being done to Alexi to kick things off. Taking none of it, just tapping forward ahead of that banana position as Plopsky sets up the A smokes. Brackets control will attempt to be gained here. Hunter and Jax will be forced behind them.
A lot of manipulation with some of the CTs here for G2, starting to bring more mass players over to the A side when it comes to the initial side defensive. And for NIP, even taking some of this banana control, they have to deal with the ore.
Oh, what a shot for m0NESY. So well timed against Rez, full blinded, still found the kill. It's 1 out of 4 required. niko is going to get a second. Trades in for Plopsky and Tag, but Alexi B gets involved in the mix. So a 3-on-2 for G2. That bomb still needs to get picked up back at T-Stairs. And Monesi could cut off the carrier here. Looks onto the mana, just back and forth, and doubles up. That could be match winning. Tag now on for the clutch. Try flash his way back into Banana. A second flash. Monesi is caught blinded and will miss the shot this time. A re-smoke goes down. Tag ready for the swing. Spray blinded. Knife pulled out. Monesi at point blank. Missing his shots all the same. And somehow Tag escapes with the kill and should get the bomb down. He's up against 2.
And Hunter and Jackson come quickly out from that Banana position. Hearing that bomb go down, Tag's got to fight.
Didn't spot the man. Coffin to wait. Jack's ready with util. Hunter spotted now. Engagement. Tag isolating these fights. 3 kills to his name. Needs to win the quadra to try and hold this together. Try and keep NIP alive. He's playing behind the smoke and Jax has no idea. Taps it and Tag just sprays. The hero for the Ninjas as they continue to fight for their lives.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that's even a possibility of getting a clutch forward. In that sort of situation, it looked like it was completely done. Monesi had dropped that bomb. They'd almost rotated around one another, going through the smoke and vice versa, dealing with the AWP, getting that bomb down. And then even for Hunter and Jax to work that 2v1, they're not peeking together, Jay. They offer up individual duels because Jax is still setting up util as Hunter aggresses forward.
What a round. And NIP within 5. Overtime is calling. So at G2, Alexi trying to win this first engagement against Hampus, does so much damage. He somehow escapes with a kill on niko. Alexi's going to burn, try and engage against a second player who is doing some more damage towards that player. And they back up towards Banana, lands pretty close to center of mass, and Plopsky tanks the damage. The AWP from Monesi, ready for the shot, and he doesn't miss.
You've just, what else can you do there? You're trying to jiggle peek, you're trying to get a flash over the top. Monesi, another great impact frag by him, and even for Hunter with that flash over the top, he doesn't continue peeking, but realizes that the T's are full in the back from that car area.
Bomb will get recovered by Plopsky. The other 2 starting to peek in towards long. Monesi's back to receive them. Misses that shot. Gets away with the nade. They look down through the smokes, blind firing, hoping he can catch Tag in the cubby corner. The flash goes over, he turns away from it, he connects that next shot. 2 to his name, 2 more to go. Jackson turn around, flanks involved. Plopsky comes up with his own counter flank, needs to get that bomb down here. Up against 2, can he clutch this time? Hunter, quick to the side, round of the corner. He's in the air, he's trying to force him out. The spray's not good enough. And G2 will close it. A 16-10 on map 2, a 2-0 series victory that stuns NIP. They will remain in the top start of the group, but that is a statement to send for G2.
Yeah, it absolutely is. What a much better performance coming through from G2, but it was from the outset alone on their opposition's map pick of Vertigo to start it off, and then on their home turf on Inferno, we saw positive signs all around by the internationals.
Well, it came in a little bit too late, and it's a shame they didn't replicate that against some of the other squads in this group stage, but it just goes to show that when this team are together, they are playing like world-class individuals and playing like a world-class squad in general here. G2 with a fantastic map win, a fantastic series above NIP, who can't quite get the undefeated streak, but again, this is all about an exhibition match here, Dwayne, so they can walk away with their heads held high, knowing that this group is still theirs.
And just knowing the highs and lows that have come through from G2 over the course of this group stage, you'd have to say, Jay, this is definitely the highest of highs that we've seen from them.
Indeed it will be. G2, however, walking away with a high of their own as we head to a break and look to close out the show.